Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by my Joshi brother in arms. It's Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you on this fine Unit League final day?
Rob Goodwin, it is a great day as always, and it is a special birthday as we record. It is the 14th birthday of this professional wrestling company that is Stardom, Rob Goodwin. So how about that? We just happen to record on the same day as the anniversary of not only Saki Kashima, not only one Mayu Iwatani, which we will talk about all the flubs and flows and tears and whatnot from that match from today, but also the anniversary of this great professional wrestling company that we love called Stardom. So happy birthday. And thank you, Stardom, for so many great memories, past, present, and future. But brother, I'm doing well. How's things on your end? Did it warm up at all over there in England?
It's actually got colder. I mean, we haven't got snow at the moment. There apparently is some forecast tomorrow. Whether that actually comes or not, or whether that's just in the foothills of Scotland, I don't know. But yeah, I imagine it's one of those countries where 9 times out of 10 it is rainy, windy, and/or cold. So it's an easier bet to just say, is it still raining? And we can go, yes, it is. It's miserable and grey. But yes, I know that you had obviously snow. You were snowed in over the weekend, snowed in Old Forge, Pennsylvania. I assume you are home now, obviously, because we've podcasted together multiple times since then. But how was the weather over in Pennsylvania?
It's still cold. I mean, today it was it warmed up. It was 3. The last 2 days it was -2, -7, and now 3. So look out.
The
I think
balmy heights of 3.
Look out. I might go tanning after this episode. Who
Absolutely.
knows? Yeah. Hey, why not? Got to work on that Stardom Cast January tan, my man. It's again, it is a momentous day. It is a birthday here, but I think they said the weekend it's supposed to get up to almost 40. So it'll jump up like 45 degrees in like 3 days. And that's an easy way to get sick because your body just can't adjust. But no, I can't complain. The podcast room, sometimes it gets a little cold, but my wonderful wife, Amber, last Christmas, she did all of this.
Yep.
And this Christmas, she got me a nice little heater. So as soon as I came home, I text you, I'm 10, 15 minutes away. I put the heater on. It's nice and toasty. So no complaints, my man. Things are really well, and things are going to be heating up as we talk about all these Unit League matches, because as we recorded last week, we're kind of scratching our heads and like, what is this going to be? And it was awesome, my friend. Mm-hmm. This was fantastic. And to quote the late, great Bob Uecker, who actually just passed away this past weekend, one of my favorite, I love Major League. But to quote Bob Uecker, our predictions, Rob Goodwin, for this Unit League was just a bit outside, because we were like, it's got to be God's Eye, right? There's no way it's going to be Neo Genesis. It can't be. They don't need the win. So our predictions, our first one of the year, just a bit outside, to quote one Bob Uecker, the late, great WWE Hall of Famer, Bob Uecker. But man, great stuff. And then these cards coming up this weekend, not only for Stardom, but Marigold, are absolutely loaded. So next week's show should be fantastic as usual, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing was, because it was a brand new concept, this New Year Unit League, and because there was so many sort of moving parts with the different teams for each fall, with falls equaling points, and it being those points that will be tallied up at the end, there was a lot of potential for it to be a little bit confusing. However, the uniqueness of the stipulation had me intrigued, certainly. And then obviously we got to the tournament, and it was fantastic. It was so well executed. The match, you opened up the tournament with Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis, and what an introduction to this new concept, because that was an absolutely blistering match, as we knew it would be. I presume both got MVPs of the tournament, because I have one, and it is not who you would think it would be, especially from that final. She was absolutely tremendous. We are going to be talking about, of course, the long-haired Rian, who apparently, in her long hair and in her gang signs, she is able to sort of channel the spirit of Azumi and Natsupoi, because I thought she was tremendous in her exchanges with Mei Sarah in the final. But yeah, it's been a very enjoyable 4 nights of wrestling. And even though the Unit League matches, because by their very nature, they are, best 3 out of 4 matches, apart from the final, they do go a little bit long. But when you've only got 4 matches on a card, they whiz by. And again, because of the almost matches inside matches, you've got little stories developing and you've got little stories continuing. So you'd got Azusa Inaba and Miyu Amasaki continuing their story. You've got Saori Anou and Rina building on their heat. You'd got the story carrying on. Saya Kamatani and Tam Nakano, as though that story needed any more fire, adding to it just that little extra nail in the coffin of the Tam Road, which is, of course, all of our favorite coffins.
How dare you, sir? It's actually kind of funny because I was, obviously Rob and I were talking off air. And we switched podcast platforms for reasons that we're not going to get into. I was kind of just going through things on my drive home because I usually sit in the traffic. I just happened to come upon the our 5-star Grand Prix review where me, you, and Andy Header. So I was kind of just listening to that as I was driving, and I was really over the top on Tam Road Part 2 starting, which now you're just telling me about. Saya Kamatani's driving the nail and then blowing up the Tam Road, and there's construction and a detour.
Yeah, you know that if hate were to be like in the real world, in real life jobs, that they would be the people at roadworks, not doing anything, just holding up traffic, but sitting in their big machines, just watching you getting annoyed with the traffic and with that small sneer on their face. That would be Saya Kamatani. But yes, of course, roadworks, potholes, all sorts of titivation needed on the Tam Road at the moment. And she might be no belts Tam by the end of this month.
Yeah, who knows? But you going back to what you just said a couple of seconds ago with all the road work, you just described Pennsylvania, my friend. So the unofficial state flower is the orange cone. But yeah, folks, if you live in Pennsylvania, or you're in Jersey and you got to drive around Pennsylvania, you know what you mean. Yeah, if I go through 1 week where there's no road traffic, I think that maybe I'm in a fever dream. But you're right, there may be no belt Tam Road. So and then we just build Tam back up because that's what we do. The cream rises to the top because regardless, no belts, any belts, all the belts. Whenever I check my watch that I don't wear, it always says Tam time. Rob Goodwin, it always says Tam time.
We need to get you a new watch.
A new battery.
Yeah, absolutely. That, my friend, is a faulty watch.
Oh my goodness, folks. Shots fired.
Absolutely. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we have got 4 shows to get through, and we're going to do the entirety of the New Year Unit League. But before we get into any of that, Matt Turner, talk us through what is coming up on Patreon this week.
Alternate commentary that we dropped. We go back to Cork and Hall from January last year as Mayu Utani teams with Julia to take on the team of Saori Anou and Micah. Alternate commentary next week. We go to New Blood Premium as Waka Tsukiyama teams with Tam Nakano to take on the team of Nane Takahashi and Kairi. And then we have just released matches with Matt where I go back and watch Suzu Suzuki taking on Saya Kamatani from the 2022 5-star Grand Prix. Figured we're just a few weeks away from their red belt match in Cork and Hall. A great way to revisit that one. We do have a lot more stuff in the bike, like I mentioned last week. Andy Header is now taking over some of the editing just to kind of help us out quite a bit because we were dropping so much content and a lot of content that he's involved in. So we have a new segment, Is It 5 Stars? Where basically I watch a match that I have rated 5 stars. Me and Andy go back and watch it, and then I decide if it's still 5 stars, if it still holds up, and I give the reason why I think it is or isn't 5 stars. And we start this one. This will probably be released, I think, this weekend. Saya Kamatani defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against One Mirai. What if I just recorded the What If with Scotty Wrestling? What if me and Scotty Wrestling were to book a few matches from Stardom versus Tokyo Joshi Pro? That was a really, really fun one. We also discussed, because we haven't had Scott on in a long time, and I haven't really got a chance to talk to him. So before the episode, we talk a lot about where his thoughts are, what's going on with Marigold and Stardom. So you get a little bonus inside of a bonus. And then Rob Goodwin, I talked to her quite a bit last night as of right now, we're still on to record. I will be recording with Allison Danger, roundtable discussion, our top 5 favorite female matches that took place in 2024, not just in Stardom, not just in Marigold, but just basically all around the world. And then just a little tidbit, because I will talk to you off air either later tonight or tomorrow, because I have a feeling this podcast will end very late at night. So we'll do a little discussion afterwards. Allison Danger, she's always one to help out, is going to help us out with, is going to try to help us out with a few interviews. As always, cards subject to change. So I don't want to say who it is just in case it falls out, because we've had that happen before. So that's something that me and you will talk about off air. So a lot of great stuff that's already on there. A lot of great stuff coming up this week. And we have a lot of great stuff coming up throughout the rest of this month and February, as we have noticed that we've gained a lot of new Patreon listeners over at the Stardom Cast Extra. And folks, we greatly appreciate your support, because there's a lot of really cool stuff on there.
Yeah, absolutely. We seem to be dropping new content a lot lately, and obviously, big thanks to Andy Hedder for taking on some of the editing duties, because it really does help me out, especially. And obviously, I know that your stuff on Patreon with Matt is some of our best work, which is concerning that some of our best work doesn't include me, but there we are.
You do the alternate commentaries, and then you do these,
right,
and then you think about between Marigold and this, you're probably podcast, and then the alternate commentaries. We're probably doing 6 to 8 hours of podcasting a week,
at least.
So please, and then, that's not including your homework and the website and the newsletter and the smoke signals and everything else that he's got going on. So good, sir. Even though you knocked my beloved Tam Nakano, please pat yourself on the back, because you're doing a phenomenal job. See how I took the high road there, folks?
You did. And that's despite me mocking Tam. This guy is all of the positivity.
That's right.
I just want to give a shout out to our new patrons as well. Michael, Latina, Aaron, Norman. And we've also got Chinedu Obioha. I'm really sorry, Chinedu, if I've mispronounced that. Please let me know via message if I've pronounced that wrong. I'm really sorry. But to everyone on our Patreon, we thank you so much. You guys are absolutely awesome. Your support means absolutely everything to us. If you haven't already subscribed, you can for as little as just $1 a month on our high-speed tier over at patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. Matt, today is actually a little bit of a momentous episode, and not just because we are going to attempt to cover four shows and an entire damn tournament in one show, but also because, and I suppose this is the bonus, I suppose, of recording 3 podcasts on the free feed this week with the 2 episodes of the Marigold Standard we recorded this week as well, that there isn't actually anything new in the world of the news that we haven't already covered on the Marigold Standard. So we can go straight into the reviews. And I feel a little bit weird about doing that. Ordinarily, we would have a little bit of news to talk about. We'd have our little back and forth. Obviously, we'd talk a little bit about how Tam isn't on the Mount Rushmore of Stardom, and you'd say, yes, she is, Rob. And then we'd have, a little bit of a tete-a-tete. And then we kick into the show reviews after everyone is thoroughly bored of our back and forth and just wants us to get on with it. But we haven't got that today, and I feel a little bit lost without it.
Well, you know what? Let's add a little bit to it, just real quick. Obviously,
just make up some news.
Hold on. Here's just so you feel back at home. 9 times out of 10, after we record, what happens? News drops.
Yeah.
So since we have no news, Rob, we want to throw something out there in the ether that you think that after we hit the record button is going to come out on social media regarding Stardom and or Marigold, and we'll kind of just volley back and forth just so we can kind of get the blood pumping a little bit, kind of stay on track. And there it is. Look at that. You even put the news for everybody on YouTube there. He even put the news segment on there. So you should put fake news.
Hang on 1 second. Let's change that. Yep, absolutely. So let's call it faux news. Faux news. There we go. Got to remember to turn that back for next week. Faux news. Right. Okay. So in the world of absolutely incorrect news, my sources, of which I have many, have told me that the original plan of the United National Championship at the Marigold show at Korakuen was initially supposed to end with Mai Sakurai planting Nagisa Nozaki with none other than the Goodwin elbow drop. And then she was going to sort of tear off the shirt, and it would just be another shirt that said, "Fear the Goodwin elbow drop." Unfortunately, plans were nixed. My sources aren't sure if that's something that they will look at the next time that that Marigold run a pay-per-view. Obviously, huge news. Huge news, Matt. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the reason why they nixed it is that probably something they're saving for the Tokyo Dome. You know, Corkin Hall, as legendary as it is, you just don't want to throw away an angle like that. You want to be in front of 70, 80,000. You want to break that Inoki retirement match record at the Tokyo Dome. So I mean, that would be my guess. You know, at the end of the day, brother, it's a business. It's a business. So
absolutely. And if you think about it as well, like the Tokyo Dome has been home to some of the greatest finishing moves in the history of wrestling. Burning Hammer, for example, that we saw Kenta Kobashi hit Jun Akiyama with, for example. We've seen the Rainmaker. We've seen the One-Winged Angel. We've seen high fly flow after high fly flow. And of course, in that great pantheon of fantastic finishing moves is the Goodwin elbow drop. So we will see. Our sources will confirm. Another source, Matt, another very, very real source that absolutely exists to give us this exclusive bit of fake news, is that the original plan of Saya Kamitani versus Suzu Suzuki for the red belt has been shelved. They are still going to have a match, but it is now going to be a three-way. Saya Kamitani versus Suzu Suzuki versus Billiken Death.
Ooh.
So, I just off topic for a moment. How funny would it be if someone tunes into the premiere halfway through this and it's like absolutely losing their mind, going, "I can't believe this is real," and hasn't seen the preamble before this?
Yeah, especially they're just like, "What? I'm done with Stardom," and all of a sudden it's just like,
we've lost Stardom like 20 fans.
Yeah, like considering the fact that like we've done really well getting new people into not just the Stardom Cast, but Stardom in general, just because we're two jackasses having a good time.
100%. But yes, so obviously huge news leaking exclusively to the Stardom Cast from my many sources. I can't obviously disclose my sources. That would be silly, and obviously don't want to get them in trouble. But that is what is confirmed to me, Matt. And what are your thoughts on this potentially Korakuen Hall gate breaking main event match?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a big shout out to Bill Apter, our source on that one. Oops, One Wrestling.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
For the record, I'm the ginormous Bill Apter fan. I'm a few chapters into his book, Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken, which is a great name. Is a great name.
See that book,
and speaking of books, I may as well cheap plug a book. Big shout out to a friend of the show and just an all-around great guy, Matt Charlton.
Absolutely.
Obviously, he's done the artwork on your book, and then he has a new book. There's a World of Pro Wrestling out there where he does a match every single day, 365 pages, and easy read, great stuff. And his J Crown books are fantastic.
They really are. Yeah,
I've gotten to know Matt pretty well over the last year or so, and just a great guy. And his stuff's been featured quite a bit in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, especially the newest issue that has a couple former Stardom wrestlers on there, one Tony Storm and Mariah May. So, but getting back to your question, three-way dance, Suzu Suzuki versus Sai Kamitani versus Billiken Death. Is this the 2-hour Iron Woman match, or is that confirmed yet or not yet?
The 2-hour Iron Clown match. Yes. Again, it is crucial to note that it is not Fukigen Death. Fukigen Death is still not booked on that show. We are yet to find out what that match is. But yes, Billiken Death has been inserted into that match. What are we doing?
Folks, none of this is true. All right, here we go.
None of this is true. Please don't go out and say that. But let's talk then about the tournament itself. What are we doing? Seriously, just wasting everyone's time. Yes, we are going to be talking about the New Year Unit League, 17th, 18th, 19th, and of course today's show, the 23rd, live from Shinkiba First Ring for the first time since 2021, which is wild when you consider that, they started with run over 200 shows there. To not have been there for, over 4 years is a wild wild statistic. But that being said, let's talk about the opening night, Friday, the 17th of January, 2025. This was from the Matsuyama City General Community Center. The attendance, 366 people. Now, in terms of the venue, it's the first time since 2013 that Stardom have run this venue, with the show outdrawing its 2013 counterpart by just 6 people. So that goes to show that it's a consistent attendance, if nothing else. It does appear to be the largest house in the venue's history, but that does come with a little bit of a caveat. Only Ehime Pro Wrestling, who don't seem to announce their attendances, run the venue regularly. Dragon Gate have run one show a year there since 2021, but they haven't had a show that's surpassed the 300 mark yet. Big Japan also ran one show there in 2024, their Matsuyama Death Island 2024 show, and that drew about 120 people. So a good attendance by all accounts here for Stardom. We obviously have Rian, Hanan, and Ruaka back for this show, all who missed different shows over that first leg of the tour because of their respective coming-of-age ceremonies. Mayu Iwatani, Azumi, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Hanako all return as well after their absence due to being part of the Battle in the Valley show on the 11th of January. Amisori is still out with the injuries to her knee. However, she was present at ringside where she was in God's Eye throughout the tournament. Great to see her back around the ring, if not in the ring. So let's go into the results then for this show. We open with a tag team match, the hate team of Momo Watanabe and Ruaka defeating Lady C and Ehime's Pro Wrestling's own Tsuru Himeka, making her Stardom debut. She would ultimately eat the pin at the hands of Ruaka, who pinned her with a neck-hanging bomb in 9 minutes and 23 seconds. Singles match next, Saki Kashima defeated Motoi Hamabe with the super hot knee in 7 minutes and 17 seconds. 6-woman tag match next, Natsuka Tora, Saya Kamatani, and Fukigen Death of Hate. They defeated the God's Eye team of Shiori, Rani Yagami, and Kyoka Kotatsu, with Saya Kamatani pinning Rana with the Star Crusher in 8 minutes and 18 seconds. And then we got on to the New Year Unit League. I'll sort of break down how I'm going to do this just because it's a lot all in one go. I'll just go through the very basic thing here, and then obviously once we get into the match, I'll go through the individual falls. But Cosmic Angels team from the red block, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Sioriano, Yuna Mizumori, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora versus Neo Genesis, Azumi, Starlight Kid, Miyu Wamasaki, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira. That ended in a draw with both teams getting 3 points in 21 minutes and 15 seconds. The main event was a New Year Unit League block match from Blue Block with EXV, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, Koguma, Momo Kohgo, Hanan, and Saya Ida. 2 falls to 1 or 4 points to 2 in 22 minutes and 6 seconds. So, Matt, obviously we are going to be focusing primarily on the New Year Unit League matches, but I just wanted to briefly get your thoughts on the opening 3 matches and what we need to be checking out from those 3 matches before we get on to the bottom matches.
Yeah, just the first match. It's always nice to have a local talent in a bigger, on a bigger Stardom show. You see it a lot with AEW, where there'll be a local talent that's getting, the better lack of a term, squashed by like a Brian Cage or a Powerhouse Hobbs. But it's always really cool to see them. It's like there's this local talent in Stardom. So I thought that was really cool. But other than that, just the God's Eye versus Hate, just because Shiri, Saya Kamatani. I'm hoping, beyond hope, that is a red belt match we get somewhere down the line, because again, those two, they're like ships crossing in nights. We've never really seen them have a big singles match. I think the last time they had a singles match was the 2021 5-star Grand Prix. I think it was night 2, and it was an excellent match. And they were supposed to wrestle in the 2023 5-star Grand Prix because they were in the same blocks. Unfortunately, as we know, Sai Kamatani got injured. So anytime we get that teased And the fact that we barely get big match Shuri, like anytime we get big match Shuri, she's on that Mayu, Sari, Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson wrestler of the year level. Not that she's not good all the time, but like when she gets really something to sink her teeth into, it's next level Shuri. And we've only been able to get little bits and pieces of that over the last year or two. So again, I'm hoping, obviously, Sai Kamatani, I think she's going to have a long run, and I hope she does as the World of Stardom champion. And I hope one of those matches is against Shuri, because I think that would just benefit both wrestlers. So other than that, weekend at Stardom, everything is really good. But ultimately, this is about these two unit league matches. Because again, going into this, you're like, what is this going to be? Because it's something new, something different, something I've never seen any other wrestling company do before. And then we kick the unit league out. I mean, this is smart booking, because it's like, okay, we're trying this new concept. Who do we try it with? Who is the first team? Who is the guinea pig, if you will? Well, let's just do the Cosmic Angels, because we saw them wrestle each other in Corgan Hall for the artist belts, and it was one of the best artist matches ever. Oh, this Neo Genesis, they're pretty good as well. Let's start with that and let's see what happens. And it was a home run. It was a home run.
Absolutely. Just very, very quickly before we dive headlong into that match, which, spoilers, absolutely tremendous match, which we knew it would be. Just a reminder of the rules. So it's a round robin format. Every faction would face the other factions in their block, split into two blocks. Red block was Stars, God's Eye, and EXV. Blue block, Cosmic Angels, Hate, and Neo Genesis. 30-minute time limits. It acted like a regular 6-woman tag, apart from the fact that each fall, you would have to have 3 different competitors, or a different combination of 3 competitors for each fall. You would get your points from winning each fall. So 2 points for a win, or 2 points for a fall, 1 point for a draw, which we did see in this match, and of course 0 points for a loss. So obviously, fall 1. We saw the Neo Genesis team of Azumi, Meisera, and Miyu Amasaki defeat the Cosmic Angels trio of Yuna Mizumori, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora. Miyu Amasaki rolling up Yuna with the Omana Hashidate in 7 minutes and 2 seconds. Fall 2. Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Saori Ano versus Neo Genesis, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Suzu Suzuki. That ended in a double countout at 5 minutes and 19 seconds, which meant it was a point each. And then that final fall 3, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Sayaka Kurora defeated the Neo Genesis team of Meisera, Suzu Suzuki, and Starlight Kid. Natsupoi pinning Starlight Kid clean with the fairy magic in 8 minutes and 54 seconds, making sure that the match ended with each team on 3 points. Matt, what an advert for the new. I mean, I've seen nothing on social media but praise for the way that this tournament has been executed, for the way that it's brought drama into it. And I think as well, it's really highlighted the different styles of the different wrestlers as well. So, you've gone from the speed of Meisera to the striking of Aya Sakura to the smooth technical ability of Saori Ano, back to that high speed, sort of just incredibly quick stylings of Natsupoi and Starlight Kid, because this match had everything you could possibly want in it. Again, what an advert to start off this tournament.
Yeah, I'll get my 2, as far as the tournament as a whole, I'll get my 2 little negative things out of the way. One, Hanen's hair. She's like in her young 20s and she dyed it like silver and it looked gray. Didn't know what was going on there. And 2, you got the unit league. No queen. That was a missed opportunity, but maybe that's just me. Anywho,
you're the only person in the world who misses that at this point, I think. But I will say, I think Hanen's hair suited it. I did see someone try and say on, I think it was Twitter, that because Hanen had dyed her hair dark, it means there's a heel turn coming.
Oh, jeez.
Please don't.
Stop.
Please don't start him. I like the hair. What was up with the hair?
No, I was just joking with it. Rob,
you're wearing. I was just gonna say.
Rob, you're wearing a black hat. Are you turning? Are you gonna go to hate? I don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do like their unit shirts, and that is something actually that I do want to talk about very, very briefly before we kick into the review of this match. I think the branding for this tournament was absolutely superb. Having every unit have basically a strip with the logo on the front, the names on the back. Of course, that doesn't take into how they fit everyone in Hate's name on the back of that shirt. I've got no idea. There was about 330 members on the back of that. But I really enjoy it's clever. It's clever marketing because, of course, you're going to support your favorite faction. Okay, we talk about soccer and I'm going to say football, but
Sure.
I mean soccer. The biggest merch seller are replica kits. You buy a kit, you have your favorite person's name and number on the back. Of course, Stardom are channeling that here, and it's a great piece of merch. The Neo Genesis one, I think, looked really good. I really enjoyed the God's Eye one, the red on black. It's a classic look. I hate the fact, ironically, that the hate one was probably my favorite. But all in all, I thought the entire branding of the tournament, short of having a logo for the tournament itself, I think the branding and the merch opportunities that they would have been able to utilize, I think they've done really well with.
Yeah, and I don't. Again, this is the same source that gave you the your sources, but from what I understand, the hate shirts were a little more expensive because they had to put more names. I've been sitting on that one for a week.
If they were doing stuff by the letter, good grief.
$80 shirt. But and in all honesty, I'm wearing my Queen's Quest jacket, and on the back is all, obviously there's no members, but on the back is Utami, Azumi, Sai Kamatani. It's all the basically your kind of final roster before Utami left. So I like stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. It's a simple shirt. Everybody has a different color scheme. It's just the logo, and on the back all the members, because again, this is basically, it's team sports, right? This is team sports. So again, you're going to, and I think me and you were texting as we're in the middle of this tournament over last weekend, saying that's a genius way to sell more merch, because you're going to support your favorite. You're going to get done and you're going to be like, you know what? I wasn't going to buy any merch, but I'm going to buy this Neo Genesis shirt because, one, it looks really cool. Two, everybody came out modeling their shirts, which is, I mean, that's free advertisement right there. It's right in front of you, and you're standing there watching this. Some of these wrestlers wear these shirts for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then it looks cool. And then Neo Genesis goes and has a banger. And then 9 times out of 10, where's the merch table on your way out? You know what I mean? That's just smart marketing. That's good, point of sale position. So yeah, it's easy marketing. And then you would have like Hazuki, cutting hers into a certain way, and everybody was doing certain things, like obviously Natsupoi, Tim, and Soriano, they were doing their own little cool thing, with their shirts. So it was really, really smart marketing. I bet you they sold a boatload of shirts, and they will probably sell a whole boatload of them, because again, they were simple. You're absolutely right. They have all the names on the back. Again, for anybody that bought those hate shirts, from what I understand, they had to work an extra few shifts so they can afford the 52 members on the back.
I think as well, like, even though a uniform or a strip, by the very definition, sort of brings everyone together, they were still able to bring out their individuality, weren't they? Which I think was really important. And something, a little bit of feedback that I saw from friend of the show, Armani Shoe Exchange on Twitter, was that factions are the lifeblood of Stardom. So much is based on the factions, and to bring a tournament that really does sort of bring it back to the faction as a whole, not just, a break off of trios. And I think it was something that they tried to do with the Triangle Derby. I don't think either iteration of the Triangle Derby quite hit in the way it needed to, especially the second iteration, which just was sort of, by the end of it, was an empty husk of an idea with one thing and another. But this, you really felt the togetherness of each of the factions, and I don't think if you'd have just broken them into trios, I don't think you'd have got the same. Whereas here, you've got that, especially with like Cosmic Angels. I feel like they really came across as a together group, and I think people like Lady C, who people often sort of forget about in terms of God's Eye, and where you think about, Shiori, Tomoka Inaba, Saki Kashima, and Rani Yagami certainly now. And I feel like Lady C sort of an outlier or someone on the outside of that. I think having her in this team and together with the rest of them, that togetherness really benefited her as well.
Yeah, Lady C looked like an absolute badass. And I know she's somebody that me and you've been talking about off air. That's somebody that's kind of just almost like lost in the shuffle. But again, that's another discussion for another day. But again, as this match was, everybody was doing their entrance, and we as we just mentioned, the shirts were like, oh, that's really cool. That's really great marketing. That's really great advertisement. I want a shirt of pretty much from all of the factions because they look cool, different, obviously different names on the back, different color schemes. You're like, well, how is this going to shake out? And then we start with Aya, Yuna, or excuse me, Aya, Yuna, and Sayaka as your team, and you're just like, we just saw them last week in Cork and Hall put on one of the best artist matches in recent memory. And then it doesn't matter which members of Neo Genesis you start this with, but we get O2 Line, Azumi, and Miyu Hamasaki and Mei Seira. So sometimes you can divide that up into two teams because, again, you have O2 Line, and then you have the super speed stars, as I call them, with Azumi and Mei Seira. What a great first fall for this tournament to start, because
It
it's
was
just
great. Yeah.
yeah, it's just Team Yuna. Just they pick up right where they left off from their phenomenal match with Tam Natsupoi and Soriano, and then just the chemistry was just off the chart. Just really excellent stuff. And it was like 2 minutes into, and I was like, this is gonna work. Like, this is genius, just because, again, you're doing something different. Everyone's kind of like, how's this gonna pan out? Well, again, who's your guinea pig? Who's your first? Because the first match, if it didn't work out, or you didn't have the right teams, which 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the right teams because it's Stardom. But this was genius putting this match on, because not only you're like, wow, this is great, and the Cosmic Angels are fantastic. We don't have any of the main eventers in there. We know we're going to get them in fall 2 or fall 3, but fall 1 was just as good as fall 2 and fall 3. And I say this a lot, partner, and I'm going to say it again because the difficulty is ramped up to a completely different level. Stardom does these multi-person tag matches better than anybody.
Yeah.
And now we're not doing one fall. We're doing 3 different falls with mixing in the factions, which the degree of difficulty, once we get it to at the end of the episode of the Unit League final, where it was like an Iron Man match, and it was basically, there was everybody can get in anytime you want, and they had to do 6 falls. And again, we'll get into that. The degree of difficulty when it comes to these tag matches are insane. And now they just made it harder, which means if it's good or really good or great, it basically just launches up how great this match was. And this was fantastic. Yeah, this opener with just O2 Line getting the early advantage on Yuna with their teamwork, and then Aya coming in with a head kick, and then Sayaka coming in doing what she does, and she's such a great underrated babyface seller. And then again, we see Azumi and Mei Seira getting the advantage just by using their speed, and the fact they do double teams so fast, so crisp, that everybody's landing in the right spot to be prepared for the next move, and they're there and they can sell in a certain way. It's just like, it's almost like illegal. Like how, like it's like almost a video game cheat. How good they are, like as a team. And again, considering the fact they're really not a team, but it's just when we see them do these double teams and there's other people in the ring, like how, and there's a referee in there, like how is that even possible? But ultimately, though, it's the head kick from Azumi that leads to the O'Connor roll, or leg capture O'Connor roll, as I will always call it, for the pinfall. We are off and running. Neo Genesis gets the first win on the first fall. How I'm going to break this down for any, and we know we have new listeners to the Stardom Cast every episode. Hello, welcome. We thank you for your time. But how I'm going to do this with my Stardom scale rating is, when we get to the final fall, I'm just going to rate the whole match as a whole instead of each fall.
Me too.
I think that's just easier. But either this first fall was like, okay, this is definitely going to work. This is an absolute home run. And again, genius booking for Teru Okada, putting this match on first.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And I think it was important to have, because every faction in Stardom is very, very, very good. Obviously, it's a brand new concept you're trialing. You want it to capture the imagination. So in my eyes, that is excitement, speed, that synchronization between team members. And I think in terms of synchronicity, very few factions in Stardom are as good as Cosmic Angels. And I feel like in terms of speed, excitement, and energy, no team matches Neo Genesis. So to have those two teams, because, you know, if you'd put, for example, a God's Eye, who I am a huge fan of, love every member of God's Eye, I don't feel they bring the same energy to your opening match as a Cosmic Angels or a Neo Genesis. So again, just piggybacking on your point, even though every faction is tremendous, I think the only other team that could have potentially been in this was Stars. But I think this was the right decision. I think this had to be the matchup because, again, the chemistry between all 11 members of rings. And that's another thing that you sort of touched on. There are 11 wrestlers in the ring, around the ring. There's a referee in there. There's whatever ringside seconds there are as well. There's the possibility that this can get messy, that this can get overbooked, and this, you know, there's too much to keep an eye on. And they paced it perfectly. in no matches, even the hate matches, which didn't all start with brawls, not all of them anyway. But
I was shocked. I was
I
like,
know, haven't me.
this is a free pass for them to start with the brawl because they're all there.
Oh my God, can you imagine if they'd have got through to the final? All 483 of them against the 5 members of Neo Genesis. But again, even with hate, it didn't devolve into a mess that you didn't know what you were looking at. And I think, again, that's credit to, the teams blocking the matches and their confidence in the concept as well. Tremendous first fall. What did you think about the double count out second fall? Do you think I quite liked putting that in so soon so that people sort of, right, okay, so this is what this is going to look like in this sort of context?
You have to understand what leads to the double count out, right? And this is 5 minutes and 19 seconds. So you have 5 minutes of just, I'm going to go through all my notes here because this is just insane. Azumi, so the second fall starts, Azumi and Natsupoi. So this is going to be great. You get high speed stuff. Azumi gets the advantage, right? Azumi's head kick led to the first fall. So Azumi's on a roll. What stops Azumi? Meltear super kick. That I really liked. And then Suzu Suzuki comes in because she's the hammer in Neo Genesis, right? She is the absolute hammer. It's a debate who the better high speed wrestler is between Mei Seira, Starlight Kid, Azumi. That's an argument, but the hammer is Suzu Suzuki.
Yeah, 100%.
So again, Meltear gets the advantage. Suzu Suzuki comes in, helps Azumi out, and what are the first thing they do? Double kick poor Natsupoi. Double kick sandwich poor Natsupoi. Starlight Kid hits a standing moonsault for a 2 count. We see the Neo Genesis team starting to ramp up their offense on Soriano, who comes in for the save. Meltear, great teamwork onto Starlight Kid. We get more great Starlight Kid versus Soriano stuff. I mean, just their chemistry. They were obviously last year at this time, right around the same day, that great match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. They're one of the best matches in the 5-star Grand Prix. We get a mini match in the middle of this fall between the two. Eventually, though, Soriano escapes some Neo Genesis triple drop kick. That sends Neo Genesis to the outside, and we see Tam hitting a big dive. Starlight Kid does not want to be outdone because she's the Wonder of Stardom champion. She hits a big dive. We get a mini brawl that leads to a double count out. So even though you're like, double count out, it meant something because everybody's going so fast and so furious. And then we hit these slew of dives to the outside. Nobody can make it. I had no problem with it, especially it's 5 minutes of blink and you'll miss it. Great action between, again, look at the teams. Suzu Suzuki, Azumi, Starlight Kid, Natsupoi, Tam Nakano, Soriano, your artist champion. So you kind of plant in the seeds of the heads of, if Neo Genesis wins and they get their title shot, I wouldn't be upset if Neo Genesis challenges Tam, Soriano, and Natsupoi, because we got a brief here, which again goes into what happens, as far as the challenge goes at the end, which we'll get into later. I thought this was great and a really great way to go into our third and final fall.
Yeah, and I think as well the psychology of it works because ultimately Cosmic Angels are willing to take that double count out, because if Starlight Kid, or I think it was Starlight Kid that was legal, gets back in the ring, that's the match over. It's 4 points to 0 in terms of Neo Genesis. So of course, Cosmic Angels are going to take that. Not only are they going to get a point because of the draw, but also that keeps them in the match, which I think was really important. And then of course we reach that third fall. Natsupoi pinning Starlight Kid clean. Aside from tournaments, and by tournaments, I think she was, off the top of my head, pinned maybe once in the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. Aside from the 5-star Grand Prix, Starlight Kid has not been pinned clean very often at all throughout 2024. So to see it here was a little bit of a shock, even if it is the great partnership of Natsupoi and Starlight Kid.
The one thing, when you watch the UFC or MMA and you have a champion that's been champion for a year or two and is drawing money and having great fights, they lose the belt. Sometimes they get an automatic rematch, or they get a rematch, couple months down the line. Stardom, we really don't see that. Like, how come Utami how come Shuri never got a red belt rematch? How come Sai Kamatani never got a white belt rematch, right? Even though obviously they're moving on to different things, but at least bring them back and then really put that person over. I mean, I think the last time we saw anything with that was Tam and Saya Kamatani, with Saya getting Saya winning at Dream Queendom, and then about 4 months later they do the rematch back in Sumo Hall World Climax. But Natsupoi getting a win here, I would love to see them run Natsupoi and Starlight Kid back. Obviously, I would have Starlight Kid win again, But considering the fact they had one of the greatest Wonder of Stardom Championship matches of all time back at Dream Queendom, it helped draw over 4,000 people and sell out Sumo Hall. I don't think you put Natsupoi over here, not unless you're going to do something. And again, it's very rare that we see a champion lose the belt and then get a rematch 2, 3, 4 months down the line. I think that's what should happen here. Again, I don't think Natsupoi should win. I think Starlight Kid should win again. But at the same time, who doesn't want to see that match happen? You know what I mean? They've got great chemistry ever since back in 2020 and 2021, feuding for the high speed championship. So I think maybe that's where they're going, partner. Again, now that especially that like we're putting championship matches in Cork and Hall, let that main event of Cork and Hall again. We are having Saya Kamatani and Starlight Kid having this rivalry over which championship means more. You do a Saya Kamatani versus Shuri as a main event on a big show, and then your semi-main event is Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi. Who's the ultimate winners on that one? Us. But hey, as usual, great closing stretch between the two.
Fantastic.
But the main crux of this third fall was the violence between Tam Nakano and Suzu Suzuki. Yeah. We saw them. They had a great match at the 2023 5-Star Grand Prix. Obviously, we were supposed to get a red belt match 2 years ago. That didn't happen because of Tam's injury. We did get it a few months ago back at, I believe it was the Nagoya Golden Fight.
Nagoya Golden Fight.
Great match. Great match. These
really
two just have blitzing violence back and forth. Great stuff. Great selling. Great firing up. Knowing when to sell. Crowd psychology. Knowing when to fire up. When to show that fighting spirit. Really great stuff here. Obviously, May Sarah plays her role really well because she's terrific. And Saka Kurora, she was great, coming in where needed to be. But ultimately, though, yeah, you're right. It's Natsupoi kind of getting the sneaky win over Starlight Kid with the fairy magic. Excellent stuff. Great way to start off this tournament. As far as these three falls together, like I said, I was going to rate it one match. Pretty damn high rating, partner. 4.5 stars for me.
Yeah, 4.25 stars for me. Again, I thought if Taro Okada was to craft the perfect advert for this brand new concept, this picture that YouTube viewers can see on screen, that is it. Because it embodied the frenetic nature, the tactical thinking, the endurance that is needed for a match like this. So full credit to everyone involved. And again, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about Sayaka Kurora or Aya Sakura, who I thought were also fantastic in this. May Sarah, who was always an absolute bloody delight whenever she's in the ring. And Suzu Suzuki, who I feel like is taking her 4 young sisters out on like a day trip sometimes, like because Starlight Kid, Azumi, Mio Amasaki, and May Sarah are just so excitable and so happy and are buzzing around the ring. And then there's Suzu Suzuki, who, as you pointed out, is just a hammer in Neo Genesis. It does feel like she's been told by their collective mother, just take them out somewhere. But Mom, I don't, just take them out, Suzu. And Suzu's like, fine, I will, but I'm not going to enjoy it.
It's almost like that's a really good point. It's almost like she takes them to the mall and they're going to all like the kids stores to shop and this, that, and the other thing. And then finally Suzu's like, we're going to a bar and a dive bar and we're going to get into a fight. And because I'm the older sister and you're my sisters and you love me, you're going to back me up. And then Suzu picks a fight. And then May, Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, and Starlight Kid, they all help her out and they beat the crap out of who's ever in the bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Neo Genesis.
In a bubble, that is Neo Genesis. Yeah, so what? Yeah, and you're like, oh, you're in the bar, Suzu, and the people you've picked to fight with are a pineapple and a unicorn. Why? Why has this happened? Moving on then to the match that was the main event, looking at Red Block, which was Stars versus EXV. EXV picking up the win overall in this match, 4 points to 2. The falls were as follows: 4-1. The Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Saida defeated EXV, Maika, Hanako, and Wakasukiyama. Hanan, again, the surprise pinfall over Hanako with the 17 roll-up in 7 minutes and 51 seconds. Fall 2, EXV, Mina Shirakawa, Rian, and Waka Tsukiyama evened things up by defeating the Stars trio of Hazuki Koguma and Momo Kohgo, with Mina Shirakawa pinning Momo Kohgo with the glamorous collection Mina in 7 minutes and 13 seconds. And then the definitive fall 3, EXV, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Hanako defeated the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Momo Kohgo. Maika pinning Hanan with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 7 minutes and 2 seconds. Matt, in some ways, it perhaps wasn't as bombastic as Neo Genesis versus Cosmic Angels, or at least in the same way as Neo Genesis and Cosmic Angels. This was still a hell of a lot of fun, and B, very intriguing, because EXV have their own theme now.
Sure do, and so does God's Eye, which we'll get into. Buddy, I apologize. I was looking at my notes and kind of popped myself. What was the time on fall number 2?
7 minutes and 13 seconds, dear boy.
I have a note that FWC came in and kicked ass, and I was like, which we'll get into. Fall number one starts off with Micah and Saida shoulder tackling each other. I'm like, okay, like how do you follow that the match we just talked about, right? And they do a really good job. It wasn't as good, but they do a really good job. But they're probably like, we know that Cosmic Angels and Neo Genesis are going to put on a clinic. How do we start this match? Let's just start off with Saida and Micah just shoulder tackling each other. Okay, great, no problem. And that's where it goes. And in this first fall, it really makes me want to see a rice or bread, or as we call them, Wanako, somewhere down the line challenge for the Goddess of Stardom tag team champions, because they had really great chemistry. And the tag champs and Wingori of Ida and Hanan, they really, really gave Wako and Hanan a lot here, made them look really, really good. So I like that there. But yeah, you're right. Like this was kind of quick, just boom, boom, bang, bang, bang. Like you get your quick Stars teamwork, especially a Mayu-led Stars teamwork. In the beginning, they hit their big spots, and then it looks like Hanako is going to run over Hanan, only for Hanan to weather that storm and then catch Hanako in the 17 roll-up. Yeah, really good way to start off this first fall. And then it just, to me, again, that's what I had for fall number 1. I just thought it was to me, it looked like they're maybe somewhere building or maybe looking at the possibility of Wanako or Rice or Bread, whatever you want to call them, challenging for the Goddess belts, because it looked like a commercial to me.
Yeah. Fall 2, Mina Shirakawa and Momo Kohgo, who for me were sort of the central focus of this fall. I thought had a really, really good exchange. And again, this is why I've enjoyed this tournament, because it has put the highlight on wrestlers in the faction that might not necessarily get the spotlight in the same way. Obviously, in Stars, you are looking at Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, Hazuki. But I think Momo Kohgo got a real highlight here. Yes, she was ultimately pinned by Mina Shirakawa, but I think her time in the ring, she utilized very, very well. And as I said before, in EXV, I think that the shine was very much on Rian in the final. So again, that's another positive for this tournament.
Yeah, one of the really cool things that in between falls, you would see them like almost like a little huddle. Like win, lose, or draw, you always see them like, okay, like we know that it's going to be, obviously Team Mayu wins, Star wins fall 1, and we know that we're getting Momo Kohgo and FWC. But you see the troops and Stars like, okay, how can we take this as a clean sweep and win these first 2 falls? And to me, Mayu almost told Hazuki and Koguma, like, go out there and do what you do. And it starts off with FWC violence. And poor Rian just gets beat up here in this fall.
Absolutely bludgeoned.
Waka tries to come in, and she's really no help. And it takes Mina Shirakawa coming in, and rightfully so. She's the big star, especially in this fall, and especially, and this team. It basically comes down to her basically kind of shutting down FWC from really just making this a quick second fall. And you're right, it almost turns into, especially the last minute and a half, a really great singles match between Mina Shirakawa and Momo Kohgo. And again, just the chemistry with the whole entire roster of Stardom is insane. And considering the fact that when this little fall was over, I was like, man, give me that 10, 12 minutes in Corkin Hall, Mina Shirakawa versus Momo Kohgo, because they were great. Mina's terrific. She's coming off that Tokyo Dome match, one of the best matches she's had in recent memory. Momo Kohgo is somebody that's so endearing, somebody that we all cheer for. we're kind of like, man, can Momo Kohgo get the big win over the international superstar that is Mina Shirakawa? And that's what you're kind of watching. But ultimately, it's the Glamorous Collection Mina that does put away Momo Kohgo. Really, really solid second fall that highlighted FWC and really highlighted Momo Kohgo even in a loss.
And then obviously fall 3, Micah pinning Hanan with the Michinoku driver 2. Only tells a little bit of the story because Hanan had a lot of offense before Micah eventually planted it with the Michinoku driver 2. This was another really, really, really good fall. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head, really. Whereas we had the speed and the sort of not necessarily daredevil offense, but certainly the quick paced, high speed offense in the first match. This one was harder hitting, it seemed more calculated almost. And I feel like this fall where you've got EXV's A team, Mina, Micah, Hanako, against the Stars team of Mayu, Hanan, and Momo Kohgo, I think it was a very, very exciting back and forth.
Yeah, again, going back to the whole huddle situation, you almost seem like, again, Micah's probably the leader here of EXV. It's kind of like, okay, Momo Kogo's down on herself, and I'm the hammer of this team. I know Hanako's bigger, but it's Micah, former red belt champion.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
It was almost like, here's the strategy. Let's divide and conquer, and let me get after Momo Kohgo, because she comes in and she just rip cords, poor Momo Kohgo. Mayu, being the leader, comes in. She makes the save. And we saw this with, she did this almost same exact spot with Evil back at Battle in the Valley, where Evil charges the buckle, eats the buckle, and Mayu hits a beautiful German suplex. Mm-hmm. She did the same spot to Hanako, and I don't know if I've ever really seen her do it that often. I think between me and you, I think we've seen just about every single Mayu Iwatani match that she's ever had. And by the way, happy 14th anniversary to one Mayu Iwatani as well.
Indeed, so, we will get to that shortly.
I like how Mayu comes in for the save, and then obviously we get the Stars teamwork, we get the basement dropkick that sends EXV out. Then we have Hanan and Momo Kohgo hitting dueling dives. I was like, ooh, yeah. Again, another pairing of stars you don't really see that much. They seem to work really well with Hanan and Momo Kohgo. I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing them team up from time to time on these quote-unquote Stardom World shows. Obviously, Mina Shirakawa, she's great here. But you're absolutely right, partner. Eventually, everybody clears everything out, and if we get a single, basically almost a singles match between the winner of last year's Cinderella tournament and the winner of last year's 5-Star Grand Prix with Hanan and Micah. And again, that's a big match that over the years we're going to get down the line, whether it's in a 5-star, whether it's for a white belt, whether it's for a red belt, because these two have instant chemistry, and Hanan is able to counter just about everything that Micah throws at her. Oh, and they were in the finals of the Goddess tournament as well. So yeah, there's a lot of chemistry between the two. Eventually, and then I like how, again, Hanan won the first fall of the 17 roll-up. So again, that's ingrained in your head that we know that match can end with that. Hanan escapes the Michinoku driver, does the trip, 17 roll-up. Micah does a great job kicking out at 2.99999.
It's a great nipple,
yeah, great teasing that finish. The crowd bid on it. Eventually, though, it is we do see that EXV comes in for the save. They hit the Venus Tower. That leads to the Michinoku driver. I like how they kept Hanan strong, even eating the fall, because it took EXV to break up the 17 roll-up and then the Venus Tower that led to the Michinoku driver from the former red belt champion to get the fall. I had this one as a total match, 4.25 stars. Great back-to-back. And again, now you're like, we know what this tournament is. I cannot wait for the next one, because we got just these two, which I think any more than two, you really kind of would have, you risk you risk tiring the crowd out.
Yeah, you do.
But I like 2 for each show. I thought it was good. But ultimately, 2 great back-to-back matches that, again, even Han in a loss here in the main event, they made her look like $1 million. Not that she needs much help, because Hanan she's phenomenal. She's really something else. She really is.
You're not wrong there, friend. You're not wrong there. Yeah, it was a really successful opening night, and obviously that was then followed by night 2. And that was another thing with this tournament, and that was something that I was very complimentary of the 5-Star Grand Prix. The fact that everything was so condensed that you didn't have a chance to sort of forget any sort of intertwining storylines or anything like that. And it was very similar here, because you literally had all of the block matches took place over 3 days. And that was it. We were done. And then obviously we had the final on the 23rd, or today as we record. So I actually really, really like that, even though it was very condensed. The fact that we only had 2 block matches per team really worked and really helped the flow of everything going forward. So we'll talk then about night number 2 of the New Year Unit League, which was the New Year Stars 2025 in Osaka, night 1 from Saturday the 18th of January 2025, the first of 2 back-to-back shows in Osaka Edion Arena, Osaka number 2. The announced attendance, 506 people. It's the 50th time that Stardom have run the venue. It's now easily the 3rd most run in their history, behind Korakuen Hall and Shinkiba First Ring. Just as a comparison, the 506 drawn is a 22.6% increase on the last time they ran the venue, which was not long ago, the 20th of December 2024, when they drew 417 people. Just before we get into the quick results, just a reminder of the block standings as we stood before any action took place. In blue block, Neo Genesis and Cosmic Angels both at the top, tied on 3 points. Hate, of course, yet to fight. Red block, Empress Nexus Venus were at the top with 4 points. Stars in second place with 2 points. And again, God's Eye yet to fight. Quick results then for this show. We open with a 6-woman tag team match. Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Motoi Hamabe defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsuko, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora. Mina Shirakawa pinning Sayaka Kurora with an implant DDT in 11 minutes and 43 seconds. 6-woman tag followed that with the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Sioriano, and Aya Sakura defeating the EXV team of Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian, with Sioriano pinning Waka Tsukiyama with the you ready? The Tombstone.
Hold on one second, Rob. I'm just writing my notes. Oh, did you know the finish of this match was the Tombstone?
Oh, stop it. Ooh. In 12 minutes and 11 seconds. We then had back-to-back New Year Unit League matches. We started in red block with the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki Koguma, Momo Kohgo, Hanan, and Saya Ida versus God's Eye, Shiori, Saki Kashima, Tomoka Inaba, Lady C, Rani Yagami, and Kyoka Kotatsu, ending in a time limit draw. 30 minutes passed, only 2 falls successful. So there you go, 3 points apiece. Yes, sorry, I completely got distracted then by my own notes. And then, of course, the main event, blue block, Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira defeating the hate team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Saya Kamatani, Fukigen Death, Rina, Ruaka, and Azusa Inaba, and a partridge in a pear tree in 22 minutes and 18 seconds. And that rounds us off. Now, Matt, before we get into the New Year Unit League matches, what did you think about the 2 opening 6-woman tags that saw Maika and Mina Shirakawa pretty much abduct Motoi Hamabe backstage?
It's kind of funny because before we hit the record button, we're like, we'll kind of just breeze through the underneath matches, so this isn't a 3-hour podcast. But these, obviously, it's 4 matches. These first 2 matches were great. And I make mention all the time, you want to start your shows off with a hot match. This was a hot match. Not only was it a great match, I had it at 4 stars. Mina Shirakawa is back doing the entrances. We haven't seen her do the entrances in quite some time, like doing the and it got the crowd like all hyped up because, again, it's Mina Shirakawa. She's, as far as charisma, she's on a completely different level. But you're absolutely right. My last note here is Motoi fits in really well with EXV, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the abduction. I don't know. Maybe she's just forced. I'm not sure. But again, whether she goes to EXV, Stars, God's Eye, or whether all of a sudden if she comes out with a black shoelace, everyone will think that she's going to hate. But that's another story for another day. Again, I thought this was great. Any way that you chop up Cosmic Angels in a 6-person, 8-person tag, it's going to be great. You have Natsupoi, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora. They were terrific. Obviously, you have Mike and Mina. They're the 2 big main eventers in EXV. And then you have Motoi, obviously the rookie she's just improving leaps and bounds. It's crazy how much all these rookies are just improving, especially Motoi. She's starting to hit that stride. Again, Look who she's in the ring with. She's tagging with Mina and Micah, former red belt and white belt champion. She's across the ring from Yuna and Sayaka, two of the most fast rising stars in the last 18 months in Stardom, and Natsupoi, goddess champion, former tag champ, former white belt champ. So again, she's only going to get better, and you see the results here. I thought she was great. This was great. Good back and forth pace action. Great stuff with Yuna and Micah. Just too hard hitting, the lariats, the chops, the forearms. I thought that stuff was really good. Mina Shirakawa towards the end here just ramps up her game. It really seems like she's refreshed this year. Again, just because I think might have been going back and forth between England and the States and Japan, it really seems like Mina is, ready to rock and roll because her energy level is at a completely different level. She was great here. I like how her and Sayaka Kurora have a great closing stretch here. Again, she does a great job taking the young Sayaka Kurora and making her look credible, that she can almost defeat the former Wonder of Stardom champion. She hits the big spear for a 2 count. The take a picture dive is also back this weekend. We haven't seen that in a while. We saw the Venus Tower is back. We saw the ring entrance is back. The take a picture dive is back. That ultimately leads to the implant DDT. Again, folks, we always say if you're strapped for time, here are the matches to watch. All 4 of these matches you should watch because this is really good. Again, 4 stars for me. And Matoi seems to fit really well with EXV, my friend.
Yeah, she really does. It is worth noting as well that after that second match, it looked like Aya Sakura was eyeing up Hanako and those New Blood tag team titles. Now we are, I think the next New Blood, which will be New Blood 18, I believe, is scheduled for the 5th of February. So we are due a card for that show, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora maybe be the first challengers for Rice or Bread.
I like your booking. I want to see that match. I like your booking, good sir. Good job.
Well, the only thing I don't like is that I kind of want to see Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora win them. Which, I'd feel really bad about taking the belts off Waka. Something I did neglect to mention, and I apologize, was that prior to the show, we saw another 5-minute public sparring session between the rookies, Yuria and Akira, with Micah, once again, as referee. Now, following this, President Taro Okada came into the ring, announced that the pair would be making their respective competitive debuts on the 25th and the 26th of January at the Takadano Baba events. Yuria will be facing Micah in singles action, whilst Akira will be facing Suzu Suzuki. It is worth mentioning that we will see them again in the finals of the New Year Unit League, where they have their final public sparring session before their debuts, and we get their names announced, or their official in-ring names, which we'll be talking about very, very shortly. That being said, let's delve straight into your semi-main event, which saw the Stars team and God's Eye team go to the first time limit draw in New Year Unit League's very, very short history. So 4-1, saw the Stars team of Koguma, Hazuki, and Hanan defeat the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima, Tomoka Inaba, and Rana Yagami. Koguma pinning Saki Kashima with the Kuma roll in 10 minutes and 34 seconds as Matt destroys his desk.
I think it's once a week. I think I have to do it. It's been a rite of passage the last month. What was it? 10 minutes and what was that?
10 minutes 34. I think you're just that excited about the Kuma roll. Ball 2 saw the God's Eye team of Shiori Lady C and Kyoka Kotatsu. They defeated the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Saya Ida, and Momo Kohgo. Lady C getting the pinfall over Momo Kohgo with the reverse Oklahoma Stampede, which, if you remember, was the same move that eliminated Momo Kohgo from the qualifiers for the 5-star Grand Prix. That was in 10 minutes and 48 seconds. Excellent to see Lady C get a little bit of the spotlight. And then fall 3, the Stars team of Hazuki Koguma and Sayarita, and the God's Eye team, of Shiori Tomoka Inaba and Rani Yagami, ended in a time limit draw when the rest of the time limit expired in 8 minutes and 38 seconds. Before we get started, Matt, Rani Yagami coming out, brand new slick back hair, Shiori's old gear, same dispassion for the Kuma dance.
I've been calling Rana Yagami Shuri Light for the past few months. And I always say, I mean that like in the nicest way possible, because again, Shuri, top 5, 6 best female wrestler in all of wrestling, not just in Stardom, not just in Japan, but in all of wrestling. And that's who she's learning from is Shuri. She works the same style. Now she came out in this as the Shuri gear, which is obviously, in 2-3 years, if they do a teacher versus student, maybe she should ditch it. But you get that Shuri vibe and like, oh, we're getting Shuri and another Shuri. So you can never have too many Shuris, Rob. And
No.
yes, and then you have Tomoka Inaba and Kyoto Katatsu, obviously, in this Unit League match as well, and new music. So we made mention towards the end of the year that boy, God's Eye, they really need some firepower. With Ami Sori gone, obviously Mirai left a handful of months ago to go and do phenomenal work in Marigold. So it's like, and then you get Saki Kashima in, and we love Saki Kashima, but she's the comedic. She's not the true firepower. Lady C's great. I think Hina's fitting in really well. But Rana Yugami upping her violence level. Tomoka Inaba just being great. We're seeing more and more and more of Tomoka Inaba in Stardom, and now we have Kyoto Katatsu. So it's all, and now we get a new theme. So it's almost like they knew that they need to add some firepower into God's Eye, and they did it within like 4 or 5 weeks, and they just look at like absolute badasses. And this fall #1, Hazuki takes it upon herself to be like, okay, yeah, you're God's Eye. Let me try to be the most violent person in here. And I think Tomoka Inaba takes that as a personal challenge because obviously we do see Koguma and Hazuki getting the early advantage into this match on one Saki Kashima. And then Tomoka Inaba, she just comes in. And again, we always talk about when we see these certain tag matches, they're like, we would like to see a certain singles match bled out of this. Tomoka Inaba and Hazuki. That would be great, especially if our prediction is right, Ralph. We get one prediction right this year, it's Hazuki winning the white belt. Can you imagine a big Hazuki versus Tomoka Inaba, like 23, 24, 25-minute match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship? I mean, geez, I mean that would be a dream, sir. That would be a dream. But no, again, great stuff here. Obviously, Han, she's terrific. Saki Kashima plays her role really well. Rana Yugami is I'm never not impressed with her. She's another one that's improving just at a super rapid rate. But yeah, again, it just seems like, and we're going to find out, and I think next week or the week after, what won feud of the year. And we know Rana Yugami in the Kuma role as far as the Stardom Cast Awards. Rana Yugami and the Kuma dance is up there, as well as me and Saya Kamatani's heel turn, which I've apologized before, and I'll apologize again that I was wrong, and glad that I was wrong. But I like how we're playing the dance with the whole Kuma role. We start with that, then we get the violence, and then we go to that. But ultimately, it's the Kuma role that does in one Rana Yugami. Really great way, again, to start this league off with stars and then just the ass kickers that are God's Eye. I thought this fall #1 was really, really good and had different levels of crowd psychology and entertainment.
Agreed. Obviously, we then move on to fall 2, Lady C, getting that little bit of a needed rub, I think, with the pinfall over Momo Kohgo. We talked a lot about Lady C's sort of needed new lick of paint when she left Queen's Quest, or was forcibly removed from Queen's Quest, thanks to Saya Kamatani, joined God's Eye. We thought that move could be a really good thing for her. We thought that perhaps her and Ami Sori making a play for the Goddesses of Stardom tag titles, that would have been really good for her. And then obviously Ami Sori was out injured, and it sort of feels like Lady C has just been there in God's Eye. It very much feels like she's been treading water, which is unfortunate. So any sort of highlights that we get to showcase, that Lady C is not just a pin eater, is not just a body to make up numbers. She is really good. And the exchanges she had here with all three women, to be perfectly honest, but especially with Momo Kohgo in that closing stretch, I thought was great.
Yeah, this third fall was built up perfectly. We start with our two big stars, pun someone intended, with Shuri and Mayu Utami. They've had great matches before in the 5-star for the red belt a year ago for the Mayu's IWGP Joshi Championship. Obviously, they had a great match today, in Mayu in the 14th anniversary show, which we'll get into at the end of this podcast. So they start out really good there with just, the two of them. They know each other so well with the kicks and the strikes and the back and forth. Eventually comes down to Kyoto Katatsu and Saida. There's another match I'd like to see because Kyoto Katatsu really with the blitzing kicks. And Saida is just trying to find her distance with that chop. And once she gets it, she gets it. But then we just see some great stuff with Kyoto Katatsu and Shuri as, teamwork with the kicks, obviously the strikes leading into submissions. Seeing the two champions and stars, Mayu and Saida, and it's Momo Kohgo for the save. You're like, oh, This is interesting because, again, you have your two big ass kickers in God's Eye and Kyoto Katatsu and Shiri really beating down the two champions, Mayu and Saida. And it's Momo Kohgo for the save. So we're building Momo Kohgo. Then her and Lady C have this great stretch only for Lady C to overcome Momo Kohgo and able to beat her with that reverse Oklahoma Stampede. Again, it's great psychology because you build Momo Kohgo up in those last 3-4 minutes of this match, only for Lady C to be able to kind of put her down and get the pinfall, which ultimately makes Lady C or her win, her pinfall in this even more important. I thought this was great psychology. It highlighted everybody, especially Momo Kohgo, she's the one that kind of needs, the big bump, and as well as Lady C, because we always sing her praises as well. And it's nice to see her getting a big win here, considering the fact of the talent pool we had in fall number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I'm happy for Lady C, because I think one of the pitfalls for Stardom is that they have got such a loaded roster, and there is such a glut of even with the Marigold separation, there is still a huge amount of talent up at the top of that card. And obviously, you now add Starlight Kid up there, Natsupoi. You've got Azumi who's knocking on the door. You've got Mina Shirakawa, who's not quite at the main event red belt level, but he's certainly there as well. And then obviously you put into that Mayu Iwatani, Syuri. There's a lot of people, Zaya Gamatani, Momo Watanabe, there's all these people that we could go into. You are going to lose a couple of people in the shuffle, and I feel like, unfortunately, Lady C is one of those people. What it would take for her to get a little bit more recognition, I don't know. But again, just that little bit of exposure here with the pin, because the reverse Oklahoma Stampede's an impactful move. It looks good. We just don't see it enough. And then, of course, fall 3 was Hazuki Koguma and Saida. Syuri Tomoka Inaba and Rani Yagami, ending in a time limit draw with the remaining time expiring. I really enjoyed this. Again, that sort of frantic sort of drive to the finish, I think, really added that excitement to the match.
Yeah, and again, we kind of started this first fall off with the Rani Yagami and the Kuma roll, or in the Kuma dance, excuse me, and Rana's not having any of it. She starts this match by just snapping and kicking the bear as hard as humanly possible. So maybe she's pulling a little Twisted Sister, and she's not going to take it. She's not going to take it anymore. So I really like that. And then Shiri comes in, and she's just like, oh, this looks like fun. I'm going to kick the bear. So she starts kicking Koguma. Obviously, you poke the bear too much. Eventually, the bear's best friend is going to come in and lay down some Hazuki mode. See how I didn't write that down. I would just kind of go on.
That, man. Yeah.
That was pretty good. That
went
was pretty
on
good.
A little journey there. I loved it.
Yeah, I didn't know where I was going to go, but we eventually got to Hazuki violence, which I think that if any of your journey ends there, you're at a good place. That's a good
absolutely.
Destination. That leads to the Stars triple boot scrapes, and then we have Hazuki and Shiri with a German suplex trade-off. Again, a match we've seen in a couple 5 stars that I would love to see again, because obviously Shiri and Hazuki might be the 2 most violent wrestlers in all of pro wrestling in the best way possible. So really good stuff there. And then we get Tomoka Inaba and Saida trade-off. Again, very much like Kyoto Katatsu and Saida in the previous fall. Really just great stuff with the kicks, the chops, back and forth. Again, we saw Tomoka and Saida had a really great underrated match in the last year's 5-star Grand Prix. I think it was in that Cork and Hall show. That was absolutely loaded, and they had a really, really terrific match. They have great stuff there. Eventually, though, we Stars get the advantage back with the FWC signature dive. I really like that. Saida then it hits this insane second rope shoulder tackle to Tomoka Inaba, like almost channeling like Road Warrior Animal. Like just hits this. I mean, just bumps like Tomoka Inaba almost on the other side of the ring. So really great sell from Tomoka, putting over the strength that is the muscle gorilla of one Saida. Eventually, though, Karate Brave kick sandwich to the Goddess of Stardom champion in one Saida. I like that. And then we go into the finish here because we have FWC basically taking out Shuri and Hanan. They basically are Shuri and Rana. They basically take each other out. So we get this last 2-minute almost mini match with Saida and Tomoka Inaba. Great stuff because you don't know which way it's going to go. We see the Inaba drop countered. We see the Inaba drop tripped up into the Itabashi, which I thought was going to be the finish. And then we see eventually Tomoka does hit the Inaba drop, but the time expires. Another great Unit League match. This whole entire segment, 30 minutes, 4.25 stars for me, my friend. I just every one of these ones hit for me, especially this one because of all the strikes. See what I did there?
Again, superb, mate. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. It's stars. I'm always going to enjoy stars. What I am quite surprised at is even though they didn't win any of the matches outright, they weren't eliminated at this point. But even though they didn't win any of the matches outright, and obviously they were teasing a little bit of dissension, especially when it came to Hanan and Hazuki. I thought that underperformance in the tournament might lead to something. It didn't immediately, that I'm aware of. Anyway, I don't think there was anything in the post-match comments or anything to sort of play on that frustration, and they seemed to work together really, really well whenever they were together, which wasn't all that often, but was still it was there. They were there in the first fall together, so I'm intrigued to see where this goes and what this leads to. Moving on to the main event, then back to the blue block with the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Seira defeating the hate contingent of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Saya Kamatani, Fukigen Death, Rina Ruaka, and Azusa Inaba. Look how much of that graphic hate take up. Like, they've had to make them so small to fit. Look how small Azusa Inaba is at the top.
Yeah, she looks like she's a star, and that's not adding Konami in there either.
Exactly, she looks like the parrot on Rina's shoulder.
Actually, Momo Watanabe's, if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, the falls are as follows. Fall 1, Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki, and Miyu Amasaki defeated the hate team of Momo Watanabe, Rina, and Fukigen Death, with Suzu Suzuki pinning Rina with the Grand Maestro de Tequila in 6 minutes and 13 seconds. Fall 2, the hate team of Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, and Azusa Inaba defeated the Neo Genesis team of Azumi, Mei Seira, and Miyu Amasaki. Ruaka pinning Azumi with the freezer bomb in 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Again, not the whole story. She was hit with a swanton bomb first, but even so, that visual of Ruaka getting a pinfall over Azumi, still a big win for her. Fall 3 then with the scores tied. Neo Genesis's team of Starlight Kid Azumi and Suzu Suzuki getting a crucial victory to win the match, defeating the hate team of Saya Kamatani, Momo Watanabe, and Azusa Inaba. Suzu Suzuki pinning Saya Kamatani for a second time this time with the tequila shot in 6 minutes and 57 seconds to leave Neo Genesis in a very strong position in the block on 7 points. Matt, completely different match to the one that we just saw, but I think that was needed considering the fact that we'd just gone 30 minutes in the match before.
Yeah, and again, this is an easy story to tell. You have your big heels, and then your super cool new faction that is, again, the cool kids, as I call them. So this match starts out where you get heat on Miyu Amasaki. Makes sense. She's the youngest and most inexperienced of this group. That would make sense for, the opening trio here, Momo Watanabe, Fukigen Death, and Rina. As much as Rob's going to disagree with me, it's led by Momo Watanabe. I know he wants, he's going to tell you it's the Clown Prince, but it's Momo Watanabe putting the boots to Miyu Amasaki with obviously Fukigen Death's experience, and Rina, she's been on a tear the last 12, 15 months as well. And obviously we'll get into the big match that she's got coming up this weekend, because I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on that, and I'm excited for it. But they put heat on Miyu Amasaki. Eventually, though, we see Suzuki and Starlight Kid, Crazy Tiger Girl. They come in for the save. Just an easy story to tell. Eventually, though, it is Suzuki hitting the tequila roll for the quick 3 count on one Rina. 6 minutes. Again, easy story to tell. You have the heat on Miyu with just the tag team of Suzu and Starlight Kid coming in for the save. But again, great stuff with Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe. We know they have a past there. Obviously, Rina, she's terrific, and it looks like they're really moving her up the card at a rapid rate, which is interesting because we talked about how you just talked about, partner, how loaded this roster is. And Rina, not that she hasn't earned it or doesn't deserve it, the fact that she's got this rapid rate moving up the card, it's really cool, because I'm really interested to see what they do with her, and I'm all for it. But then Suzu, Momo Watanabe, I mean, it's just violence on violence again. Go back to the 2022 5-star Grand Prix. They had just an absolute war with just a great match in that phenomenal 5-star Grand Prix. But ultimately, it's just Suzu Suzuki just basically outfoxing one Rina getting the fall here. So simple story to tell in 6 minutes for your first fall.
Second fall, then again, Ruaka getting that visual pin over Azumi. Again, Azumi had eaten a lot of finishes, including a Tora Swanton Bomb. But again, big win for Ruaka, who is steadily, and we've said this before, steadily improving every single match. And again, I think, much as we criticize the booking decision of having Natsukatora not enter the 5-star Grand Prix because, she was red belt champion, too good for the tournament, only to lose the belt 34 days later. Not that I'm still bitter about that a little bit. But I think Ruaka ultimately benefited hugely from that. And, it sort of proves why I'm not a wrestling booker, I suppose, because again, Ruaka has been slowly but surely, and again, that team BMI 2000 in the Goddess of Stardom Tag League certainly helped. We've been seeing that progression in ring. She's never going to be, a red belt champion, although I did say that about Natsukatora as well. I don't see her in that sort of ilk, but I see her as a very, very solid mid-card heel as well. She's still really young as well, like 19 years old. She's still really young, got a lot of stuff to come from Ruaka. Again, big victory here over Azumi.
Yeah, again, the BMI 2, this match is a lot of different stories. Again, poor Miyu Amasaki takes the heat again, and then we get the hate brawl, which I'm shocked it took this long. We get the hate brawl, and then we get Azusa just beating up on Miyu because obviously we know we have a championship match with the two of them coming up. I believe it's this weekend, right? I think Azusa and Miyu at the 26th. I think that. So
it is indeed.
You're building that match up here, and then you're building up Ruaka and Tora as a tag team in this match because majority of their offense was teamwork. Obviously, that was the finish. It was, the Swanton and then the Freezer Bomb. So you're building up BMI 2000 as maybe potential challengers somewhere down the road for Hanan and Saida Wingori for the Goddess Championships. I think that'd be a great match, like a V2 or V3 for Wingori. Obviously, I think Wingori should go over, but I think with the right build, I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic. But again, heat on Miyu Amasaki, who comes in for the save, is Azumi and Mei Sarah. Again, I talk about their tag team work all the time because they're so fast and so fluent, and the fact that they know where to bump their opponents and know where to be for their offensive sell and their fire up, and they do it here. I thought that the two of them were just terrific. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Eventually, Azumi's the one that gets cut off. And again, Azumi, even though it still blows my mind, she's never challenged for the red or white belt. For how long she's been in this company and how great she is, she's never had that big match, but yet she doesn't eat a lot of falls. But you're absolutely right. This is huge for Ruaka to get this win here, not only to pin Azumi, but to tie up at least this part of the tournament. I thought this was a great match, and they basically just took almost the same formula from the first fall and just kind of upped it a little bit with the intensity, and then adding in Azusa, really taking Miyu Amasaki to task. That really makes me so much more interested and excited for the championship match coming up this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Moving on to fall 3 then. Again, as I mentioned before, Suzu Suzuki getting a second pinfall victory over Saya Kamatani. And again, I don't think any of us see Suzu Suzuki coming out of the 2nd of February Korakuen Hall show as the new World of Stardom champion. However, getting 2 pins over the champion in the space of less than a month is still very, very good for Suzu and her image heading into that match, Matt.
Yeah, again, and I talked about how, like, in between falls, your teams are huddling up. You just had Azumi get beat up and take 2 finishers back to back. Azumi's in the 3rd fall here because Neo Genesis only has 5 people and Hate has 52. So again, Azumi's in this 3rd fall, and what's the huddle? Probably like, let's jump Azumi, and that's what they do. They start putting the boots to Azumi. Suzuki comes in and she drops the hammer. Again, you're in the middle of the mall. You're seeing your young sister trying on perfume. She's getting beat up by the goth girls. So what's going to happen? You're going to come in and throw some spears and maybe throw somebody off the 2nd floor or through the window of KB Toys. I know KB Toys for you folks in the Northeastern America is not a thing anymore, but bear with me. But anywho, or Toys R Us, but you know what I mean. So obviously, again, Suzuki comes in with the big spear. Starlight comes in with that beautiful head scissor headlock takeover at the same time, which is just insane how she does that. And again, they're coming to the rescue of, like, again, it's a unit match. It's a team match. Our partner is down here. We need to come in and save her. So I really like that. Again, more Momo Watanabe violence on Suzu Suzuki. We get a little bit of that. More good, great stuff with Rina and Starlight Kid. Again, I think that's a white belt match that we're getting pretty soon, and I'm all for it because, again, we're really shooting Rina up the top of this card, and I think she's going to do really well, and I'm all for that. Ultimately, your right partner, it is Suzu Suzuki and Saya Kamatani, because that's the match that we're probably going to put 1,500 people in Korakuen Hall for the red belt, which is not a pay-per-view, by the way. They did make mention last week that it's on Stardom World, so it's like, kudos to Stardom. Yeah, that's amazing. Again, $6 American. How, that's a little over $1 a week. What are we doing if we're not subscribing to Stardom World? But ultimately, it's Suzu hitting the tequila shot onto Saya Kamatani for the win. This whole thing as a whole, I had it at 4 stars. I thought it was a great showcase from these two factions with a simple story to tell, which we're sprinkling in a lot of Azumi on the back foot and selling. We're sprinkling selling tickets for Ozusa Inaba versus Miyu Amasaki for the future Stardom Championship. And we're sprinkling, obviously, your main crux is Suzu versus Saya Kamatani, which we're getting in about 2 weeks' time. Partner, I want to get your thoughts on something. I had a lot of people message me on the old social medias that they didn't think that Saya Kamatani should be eating 2 falls to the same person right after she won the red belt. I just want to kind of know your thought process, and then I'll give my thought process. I have a feeling we're probably on the same wavelength as we usually are.
I don't particularly mind it. Obviously, you do want to keep your champion strong. That is sort of the point of being a champion, is that you are, in kayfabe, the strongest person in the tournament. However, you have got to build up steam in the challenger to make it believable that she can dethrone the champion. So again, it's not like these are definitive falls. Okay, we're not talking about Saya Kamatani being absolutely pasted for 20 minutes and then being pinned. It's happened, for the longest time. We've seen things like this. It's how title challenges are set up in the first place. The whole point is that champions need to have a little bit of vulnerability, because ultimately, if the champions are vulnerable, there is a chance that challengers can win. And that intrigue is what sells tickets. That intrigue is what draws people to watch the shows. I don't think Saya Kamatani should eat any more falls before the pay-per-view. You need to tread that line between making her look weak and making it believable that she can lose. Because ultimately, if Saya Kamatani beats Suzu Suzuki at every turn and then beats her at the pay-per-view, or well, I say pay-per-view, the Korakuen Hall show, no one's going to care about the match. Like, no one's going to care that Suzu Suzuki is challenging. And I think that's something that you've got to be very wary of as a booker. I personally think it's been done very well, because again, it's been shocking. Saya Kamatani has eaten very few falls. She made it through to the final of the 5-star Grand Prix. Whenever they lost in the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, it was either via interference or Konami at the pin. And then she won the red belt in Ryogoku. So it's not like she's been eating pins left, right, and center, which makes these 2 pins stand out, which is what makes Suzu makes her look stronger as the challenger, and I think that's important heading into it, Matt.
Yeah, I knew we'd kind of agree on it. Just to kind of add on a little bit more to what you said there, partner, is again, a lot of when this match was officially announced with an official match graphic, we don't think that Suzu's going to win. They're not going to hot potato their red belt, especially Saya Kamatani is such a draw, not only ticket sales but merchandise as well. So again, I expect Saya to have a long run, rightfully so, as the World of Stardom champion. But a lot of the Suzu fans were like, oh, Suzu, another red belt loss. She lost to Micah, Dream Kingdom 2023. She lost to Tam. We just talked about it a little bit ago, back in October. So it's like, she's going to lose here, but let's heat her up. Let's make her look credible here so she pinned the champion not once, but twice right after she won the belt. And then, spoilers, she wins the unit league. So it's like, we're really, really heating Suzu Suzuki up, and rightfully so. I expect Suzu Suzuki to be a white belt champion, to be a red belt champion in the next few years. She's that talented. And we know this match in Korakuen Hall is going to be great. And we know Saya Kamatani, whether she's white belt, red belt champion, whether she's babyface or heel, the one thing she does in these big matches, especially with her at the win, is she takes her opponent and she brings her up. We saw Starlight Kid, Mirai, Micah, Himika, and that Wonder Stardom run. That's what's going to happen here with Suzu Suzuki. I would not be shocked when we review this show in a few weeks that we say that's a top 2 or 3 Suzu Suzuki singles match that she's ever had. And I have a feeling we're going to say it's the best red belt match in Cork and Hall in the last year or two. See what I did
there? Like it.
But no, I like this booking. I like the fact that it's Suzu. It's just she's a baby face. So you're building Suzu Suzuki up to overcome the evil heel. I say heel, quotation marks, of one Saya Kamatani because nobody's booing her. But I like this because Suzu is somebody that she's in a good spot. She's not red belt champion. She won't be for at least a little bit just because of how low the red belt division is. But she can be the person that challenges and gives the good V1, the V2, kind of the Momo Watanabe role. And folks, that's a good place to be because you know that you can be tapped on the shoulder, be like, we need to start this championship run off in the right way. Who can we put Tam in the ring with, Mike in the ring with, Saya Kamatani in the ring with, in a main event that's going to draw tickets, that's going to make us money, and it's going to be a great match. Old reliable Suzu Suzuki. That's a great spot to have. Not everybody can be the lead singer of a band, my friend. Not everybody can be the lead singer. You need people playing drums and percussions in the back, and that's a good spot to have. And that's where Suzu is right now. Again, she's young too, 23, 24 years old. I expect her to, she's former goddess champion, former artist champion, former a winner of the 5-star. I expect her to be there, but I just think her building up to this match, the way they have her built and the way they have her beating Saya Kamatani with her big moves in this ring, I think is absolutely perfect because it's putting the doubt in people's heads. And she won this match, tequila shot, and then she beat her at New Year's Dream with the locomotion German suplex. You know damn well, in front of 1,500 people in Cork and Hall, loud Cork and Hall, those are going to be 2 big falsies that everybody's going to bite on. And it's just going to make that match more interesting and more entertaining and more important.
Plus, it gives a story to Suzu Suzuki. This will be her 4th attempt at the red belt, having lost to Julia as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. See, that's why you wear the Stardom Cast hat, my friend. I forgot she did lose to Julia, and that was Julia's V1. That was Julia's V1. You're right. So Suzu has Julia's V1, Kamatani's V1, and Tam's V2. So again, really good spot to be in to make sure these championship runs go off, and they were all great match. And this match is going to be great.
Yeah, they were.
So yeah, good point, my man. See how I like what you said, and then I added something, and then you added something. What a team.
And again, having those 4 matches when you're in a hot faction that is winning all the belts, that is then a story for Suzu Suzuki, which is as important as well. You don't want to feel like you're, look at Hazuki, one of the most over wrestlers on the entire roster, has that storyline with the white belt. Maybe that is something we build with Suzu Suzuki because, again, I don't think she's 23 yet. She won the 5-star Grand Prix at 21. So, she's got so long left. So again, I wouldn't be too worried about Suzu Suzuki.
You don't look worried. You look very calm about it.
I'm not worried. I am pretty calm. I am pretty. In terms of Suzu Suzuki, she's won the 5-star. She's won the Goddesses belt. She's won the Artist belts. She's been at the top of the card. She's main evented Rhea Goku. I think she's doing all right for herself. But yeah, I do expect this to be a very, very, very good match because Suzu is very, very reliable when it comes to big matches. Moving on to night 3 then, and the final night of block action, second night in a row at Edion Arena, Osaka number 2, Sunday, 19th of January, 2025. Hanan will be absent from this card. She is wrestling in Diana on this card against Nanami in singles action, a match she would win in just under 9 minutes. In terms of the attendance, the announced attendance for the show was 555 people. Not only is this a 9.7% increase on the previous day in the same venue, but this also makes this the largest attendance Stardom have drawn to the Edion Arena Osaka #2 since June 2023, which was 15 shows ago when they drew their second highest ever attendance at the venue of 648. So a really big attendance gap for them. Standings for the blocks then, as of the start of this show: blue block, Neo Genesis on 7 points, Cosmic Angels on 3, Hate on 2. So Cosmic Angels have got to get 2 falls to win the block. Red block, Stars are on top with 5 points. EXV hot on their tails on 4. God's Eye on 3. Literally anyone can go through in that. The quick results then: we open with a 3-way match. Mayu Iwatani defeating both Matoy Hamabe and Mei Seira, pinning both of them in 6 minutes and 54 seconds. 8-woman tag team match. The Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid Azumi, Suzu Suzuki, and Mio Amasaki defeated the Stars team of Koguma, Hazuki, Saya Ida, and Momo Kohgo. Suzu Suzuki getting another pinfall win over Saya Ida with the Grand Maestro, the Tequila, in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. We've then got our last block matches. The red block match between EXV, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian, and God's Eye, Shiori Saki Kashima, Lady C, Tomoka Inaba, Ronnie Yagami, and Kyoko Kotatsu ended with an EXV win in 14 minutes. No, that's wrong. Sorry, 17 minutes and 35 seconds. And then in your blue block final match, the Hate team of Natsuko Tora, Saya Kamatani, Momo Watanabe, Ruaka, Rina, Azusa Inaba, and Fukigen Death, so many people, defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Sioriano, Sayaka Kurora, Aya Sakura, and Yuna Mizumori with 2 falls to 1 in 26 minutes and 4 seconds. That victory eliminating both teams and sending Neo Genesis through to the final. EXV's win over God's Eye eliminates God's Eye and Stars, meaning that on the 23rd in Shinkiba, we will have EXV versus Neo Genesis for the titles. Matt, obviously, before we get into the matches of the Unit League, the 3-way match in the 8-woman tag, anything you would like to mention from them?
Crowd was really hot, and a great way for these 2 matches to kind of lead into our Unit League matches. Again, Matoy, Mei Seira, Mayu Iwatani, kind of a weird trio, but it's like, again, Matoy seems like she's fitting in with that high-speed style. Finish for match number 1 was really good. Not something to go out of your way to see if you're stressed for time. However, match number 2 with Miyu Amasaki, Azumi, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki versus FWC, Saeed and Momo Kohgo, that was great. Especially, we did see quite a bit of FWC action early on in this match, which I thought was really good. Or FWC O2 line. Sorry, I'm reading my notes to start with this match. I thought was really good. Again, the Unit League matches, everyone was terrific. But if you do have time, definitely go watch this Neo Genesis versus Stars 8-person match because, again, multi-person match. Look at the talent that's in there. It was fantastic. I actually had it at 4 stars.
Looking on then at the red block match that saw EXV against God's Eye, full 1. EXV team of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Rian defeated the God's Eye team of Shiori, Lady C, and Kyoko Kotatsu, with Maika pinning Kotatsu with the Enkara Toshi in 8 minutes and 14 seconds. Fall 2, the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima, Tomoka Inaba, and Rani Yagami defeated the EXV team of Mina Shirakawa, Waka Tsukiyama, and Hanako. Saki Kashima pinning Hanako with the Kish Kasai in 3 minutes and 43 seconds, the most dangerous move in all of pro wrestling. And then Fall 3, EXV team of Maika, Hanako, and Rian. Hanako getting the submission victory over Lady C with the Shirasagi in 7 minutes and 9 seconds. Matt.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I thought you were gonna give me like a big intro or drum roll. And
Oh no, not at all.
No, you don't deserve it, Matt Turner, jobber. Anywho, we talked a little bit about Lady C, right, and that the fact that it was important for her to get that fall in the Unit League match. I think it was the day before. Yeah. Mina Shirakawa and Lady C tear it up here in the beginning. I mean, they really again, the match before that 8-person was really, really hot, and they started out with some like, oh, all right. Again, you look at the firepower you have here in God's Eye. Obviously, Tomoka Inaba, Kyoto Katatsu is kind of the shiny new toy. Obviously, you have Shuri. But Lady C in this first fall here really was the MVP. And her and Mina have some really, really great stuff. Eventually, we get the match that everybody wants to see that we thought we were going to get for the red belt when Micah was champion. Micah, Shuri. You want to talk about instant chemistry, the grappling, the striking, the hard hitting, the way they build certain things up, the way they sell certain. Again, we saw these. They wrestled in a couple 5 stars before. They wrestled for Shuri's World of Stardom Championship, but Shuri's on a different level now, and Mike is again one of the best, in my opinion, top 6 or 7 best wrestler in the world, regardless of country, company, or gender. I mean, Mike is just on another level, and again, we need something for Shuri to sink her teeth into. But anytime these two get in the ring, I'm all for it, my friend. I mean, really great stuff back and forth. Kyoto Katatsu, she comes in. Her and Micah's exchanges were really good. Micah, again, former red belt champion, big main eventer here, does a great job selling and putting over Kyoto Katatsu's offense, only for her to eat the Anka Toshi. Really, really good first fall. Again, give me that Micah Sherry match. And I like how they make Lady C look really credible here, especially against a big star like Mina Shirakawa. Again, I'll never say no to a Lady C push because I think she's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, again, I feel like I've said this a couple of times, even on this episode, but not everyone can be a red belt, white belt champion. But I feel like a push for Lady C, and maybe once Amisori has returned from injury again, we saw her ringside supporting God's Eye. Maybe when she comes back, we see a Raiwa Tokyo Towers goddess push. I don't think anyone would be opposed to that because, again, those two showed that they had really good chemistry on the New Blood shows that they teamed in. So, again, I'd love to see that. Completely agree with you. Fall 2 then, Matt, Saki Kashima, Inaba, and Ron Yagami. Mina, Waka, and Hanako wasn't the longest fall in the tournament. In fact, it was the shortest by quite a substantial margin. But that's what you get with Saki Kashima, that surprise Kish Kasai out of nowhere.
Yeah, to sum up this 3 minutes and change, it's Hanako just running wild, Hanako Mania running wild, only for her to eat a whole bunch of strikes, and she just happens to turn into the most dangerous move in pro wrestling, the Kishi Kasai for the 3 count. Again, you want to do something different, right? We've been seeing these long falls or these blistering falls or just big thing after big thing or dive after dive or high speed or, again, the grappling with Mike and Sheer in fall 1. So, like, what's the fall that's going to stand out? Let's just have Hanako just run crazy, and then all of a sudden she gets hit with a whole bunch of strikes, and then right in the Kishi Kasai. Made sense, easy story to tell. And now we're all tied up as we go into fall number 3.
Yeah, again, which saw Micah, Hanako, and Rian getting the win over Shiori Saki Kashima and Lady C. Hanako making amends for being pinned in the previous fall by submitting Lady C with the Shirasagi. And considering both these women are primarily power wrestlers, I think that closing stretch showcased that their speed is really, really underrated. And that's that little bit of a wriggle out of the reverse Oklahoma Stampede into the Shirasagi was very well executed by Hanako.
Rob Goon, I love me matches to start with a big lockup. I also love me a match to start up with some phenomenal. I just mentioned it, Shuri and Micah grappling. We got a little bit of it in fall 1. It's just like fall number 3. It's like, well, here we go. And this makes sense. This is a must win for both teams. You have the leader of EXV, the leader of God's Eye, former red belt champion, former winner of the 5-star, former red belt champion, former winner of the 5-star, respectively. So it's like, okay, we're the leaders of these factions. We have to win this fall so we stay alive. Let's put our money where our mouth is, and we're both going to start. So I like that. I liked how it's just like we got respect for each other. We're both main eventers, former champions to this great company. Let's go, and they go, and it's fantastic. We do see Hanako coming in as we see some high mate teamwork that gets stopped by, out of all people, once again, Lady C. And then the big boots, the chops, the big choke slam. And consider the fact that she's got the KT tape all the way up, from her back almost down to her leg. So she's competing here in some pain, and you couldn't tell by the way she's moving because she is kicking ass. She locks in all 3 members of EXV in the abdominal stretch, and what a sight that is, and what a great way to put over Lady C. Ultimately, though, it's the teamwork of high mate that puts down Lady C with like that double backbreaker drop. I just call it the JP coaster drop because why not? Anytime we can do any shout out towards Himika, will take it. And then that eventually leads to the Shirasagi for the tap out for EXV to get the win. Rob Goodwin, out of all these Unit League matches, this was the one I rated the lowest, and I rated at 4 stars, which is still pretty darn good rating. Again, really, really solid stuff, and I liked how we highlighted Lady C and how I just want Sherry versus Micah every day. Damn it.
Every day. Maybe in Vegas. Imagine.
Vegas,
Imagine.
baby. I'll go nuts.
Vegas, baby. I did say that this match went 17 minutes. I don't know where I plucked that from because it was 19 minutes and 6 seconds. Don't know where I got 17 minutes from. But yes, really, really, really good match. Again, highlighting Lady C, which is what we wanted. I think Waka looked really good in this match as well. And then obviously we're talking about Rian in the final. So again, tip of the cap to the booking committee for making sure that those wrestlers that don't often get the spotlight got the spotlight. Moving on to the main event then, and Hate getting the better of Cosmic Angels again. Sayaka Mitani getting the better of Tam Nakano again, putting that all-important speed bump on the Tam Road. Fall 1 saw the Hate team of Ruaka, Rina, and Azusa Inaba defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi Soriano and Aya Sakura. Rina pinning Soriano with the Pink Devil in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. You talk about people who don't eat many pinfalls in Stardom. Soriano was right near the top of that list. So for Rina to get the pinfall, as she's on the road to what we assume is going to be a white belt shot against Starlight Kid, that's a huge, huge victory for her. Obviously sets up something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Fall 2, Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura then defeated the Hate team of Momo Watanabe, Azusa Inaba, and Fukigen Death. Tam getting the pinfall over Azusa Inaba with a Tiger Suplex in 9 minutes and 3 seconds. And I love the way that this last fall played out. I really, really do. The Hate team of Sayaka Mitani, Natsuko Tora, and Ruaka defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Sayaka Karora, Saya pinning Tam with the spinning Star Crusher after Sayaka Karora accidentally speared Tam in 9 minutes and 29 seconds. The win for Hate, eliminating both teams. And we get Neo Genesis and EXV in the final. Matt Turner, let's talk about this first fall.
Yeah, just real quick, as this match as a whole, it was great. It wasn't my favorite match. I really enjoyed it. Like there's other matches that were better, like the final and the first the first match. As far as in-depth story, the fact that I have more questions and answers coming out of this, the fact that this is like maybe it might have been your biggest ticket seller coming out of it because there's so much stuff to pull out of it. It's just genius booking. Just genius booking because there's so much great stuff. And you're right, the first fall. And let's talk about Azusa Inaba. We talk about how great Lady C was. Here's Azusa, and Azusa Inaba in the fall 1 and fall 2 has great chemistry with Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, right? And I know you might be saying it's Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, like who wouldn't? But at the same time, Azusa is only like 15 or 16 years old, and the fact that
she's 16,
she's just another one that is just unbelievable. Like her and Natsupoi, their exchanges in the beginning where like Natsupoi is doing the high speed, fairy offense. And then Azusa is just waiting for that one opening for the kick to slow her down. And I like that. And again, of course, Natsupoi is going to sell it to make the young Azusa look credible, which I thought was great. I love this. I love the teamwork with Azusa and Rina. Why can't I think of their team name, Rob? I'm drawing a blank. Pink, what's it?
Devil Princess.
Devil Princess. I know it's not. Thank you, buddy. But I like how they do like like how Rina locks somebody in the hydrangea, and then Azusa comes over with a pump kick, and then it turns into like a neck bump. I really, really like that. I thought that was some really great stuff here. Aya Sakura was great. Her exchanges with Rina and Azusa were good. Ruaka plays her role pretty well here, but ultimately this is just Rina and Soriano. With you, obviously, we would get some interchanging with the teams. A lot of it is really almost a 2-on-1 with Soriano and Devil Princess, because that's basically how they put away one Soriano. But you're absolutely right. There's a really cool spot where Aya Sakura hits the head kick onto Rina that leads into the Potter ring. That was a really great near fall because you get the big head kick, and then I just still don't understand how she does that Potter ring. I just don't think she has a spine.
Insane.
Yeah, it's insane. And then you think that's going to be the 3 count, but eventually the other members of Hate come in and break it up. But you're absolutely, I just said before, it basically turns into almost a 2-on-1 match with Devil Princess getting the better of Soriano. And then we do see the diving knee bomb and the Pink Devil that does put away Soriano, getting Rina a big win over former Wonder Stardom champion. I thought that was great. And I was like, okay, where are we going with this? And ultimately, we'll talk about a little bit later that we're getting a big singles match again this weekend. They did a good job making, putting that match over here in this match. Really, really good first fall.
Yeah, completely agree. And obviously, that's now been made because obviously we had a confrontation post match. That's now been made official for the awards weekend in Takadano Baba on the 26th of January, which again, Soriano and Rina, especially if Rina is going for the white belt, which I think we all think she is. It's, enough hints have been dropped that that's where we're going. I would be very, very surprised if Soriano walks away from this match with the victory. I'd also be surprised if it's not a TLD. But again, I think Rina winning or a TLD are your most likely scenarios here because if you're giving Rina the opportunity to go for the white belt, you need to pull the trigger on it. And I think a statement victory over a former white belt champion in a singles match, wouldn't be surprised if she then comes out and challenges Starlight officially on that show.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Again, we talk about some of these great wrestlers in Stardom get over with losses. Obviously Utami's not there anymore, but I talk about Utami, Tam, Micah. A lot of these great wrestlers can get over with a loss. Soriano eats another loss here. It's going to be interesting to see how she can. It's going to be great to have her pull up Rina, but how is she going to recover from said loss? And that's something I'm interested in seeing because we all expect really big things for Soriano in 2025. Because again, was a low-key MVP on this stacked roster back in 2024. But it's a match I'm really looking forward to because Soriano is terrific. Rina is on the run of her life. You put a little extra, oomph into it with this first fall here. So that's a match I'm really looking forward to this weekend. But it was perfectly well done. The fact that it took Devil Princess really to take out Soriano. Wouldn't mind seeing a Devil Princess versus Sororipoi match somewhere down the line on like a KBS Hall or a Cork and Show partner.
Fall 2 then, and Cosmic Angels even things up. Tam pinning Azusa Inaba. Momo Watanabe and Yuna Mizumori. That is a match that I want to see.
I like how we get the heat on Aya Sakura. And it's not Tam for the save, not the leader. Yuna comes in and she drops the hammer because that's her tag partner. And there was a really, really great exchange, which we'll get into later. But I thought her Yuna coming in for the save for Aya, I thought was something really important. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There was great stuff with Yuna and Momo, great stuff with Tam and Momo. Again, they have been in Stardom together quite some time. We haven't had too many singles matches. I know Tam early on challenged Momo back in I think 2018 for the Wonder Stardom Championship, but they were kind of like two ships passing in the night. You see them on some 5 stars, but like, man, I would love to see a big Tam versus Momo program somewhere down the line because they have great, great chemistry. And again, speaking of great chemistry, Azusa Inaba ramping everything up towards the end here. Again, you built her up in fall number 1, helping Rina get that win, where Tam eventually stops her with a Tiger suplex. So you're telling a great story from fall 1 to fall 2 with some great tag wrestling and some great singles action. So I like the psychology, how the first fall flowed perfectly right into fall number 2. And then fall number 3, Rob Goodwin even ramps up the psychology and the storytelling even so much more.
Absolutely. And you know what? This doesn't need to lead to a Sayaka Kurora heel turn. That's not what this needs to. However, it does play into that desire for Sayaka Kurora to bring out the good in Saya Kamatani that she's been doing. Obviously, idolizes Tam to the point where the gear is harkening back to Tam's 2019 match with Arisa Hoshiki. You saw the devastation in Sayaka Kurora's face when Saya Kamatani got the 3 count, and she knew it was her fault, could barely speak backstage. I love that. And again, it's another one-up that Saya Kamatani has got over Tam. Tam can't get herself over that Saya Kamatani mountain.
This whole match was such a build because we get the jump and the heat on Sayaka Kurora early on. And Natsupoi comes in hot She comes in hot. She hits the basement dropkick onto both members, or the two members of BMI 2000 and Natsuko and Ruwaka. We're going to get a big dive there. So I like that. I like how Natsupoi is coming in here kind of a little more fresh than Tam. So she's coming in to save Sayaka Kurora because we built up sympathy in the beginning of the match of Sayaka Kurora. And then obviously we built up sympathy not only at the end for Sayaka, but the post-match promo. I like how then we go back to Sayaka Kurora and Saya Kamatani. Saya Kamatani, your World of Stardom champion, kayfabe, the number one wrestler in this company because she's holding the most important belt, stops beating on the young Sayaka Kurora to whisper something in her ear. And that just sets a trigger off in Sayaka Kurora getting here. And she does whatever she said. I don't know what she said, Rob Goodwin, but maybe she dismembered Tam the way you did earlier in this podcast. I don't know, but a little fire under her. And then we see her just waylaying on Saya Kamatani. Tam comes in. Tam and Saya have a throwdown. Tam gets the better of the throwdown. We see the members, basically all the members of Hate come in with the referee distracted. They beat up Tam. Natsupoi comes in for the save. Soriano is able to kind of hold the other members of Hate that weren't legal in this fall on the outside. They basically pick up almost where they left off in Sumo Hall with Kamatani and Tam. Again, knowing that there is way more to this story. That wasn't the exclamation point. There is way more to this story. And it looks like Tam is about to put away Saya Kamatani. And Sayaka Kurora goes to spear Kamatani because she pissed her off. Like whatever she said, she pissed her off. Pardon my language. Goes for the big spear with reckless abandon. Kamatani moves out of the way, hits Tam. Sayaka Kurora it gets pulled out. Kamatani pins Tam once again with the Star Crusher. Great match, 4.25 stars, but it's not the star rating that's the most important thing. It's all these stories. Fall 1 going into Fall 2, Fall 2 going into Fall 3. All these stories coming out of each and everything that makes me want to see so much more with Cosmic Angels and Hate, especially Tam and Saya Kamatani. And I made mention how Stardom really doesn't do rematches right away for championships. And I made mention I want to see Natsupoi and Starlight Kid because they planted the seeds. You know we're getting a big Kamatani versus Tam rematch somewhere down the line. Maybe in Yokohama, maybe sometime in the summer. I don't know. But again, there's way more to this story that these two are going to be feuding for quite some time. And we keep adding in different members. It's just absolutely perfect. It reminds me of like ECW when you had like the Dreamer Raven feud, where you would add the Sandman and Stevie Richards and the Pitbulls and the Bruise Brothers, where ultimately it's all about Sandman or Tommy and Raven, but you're adding in these other members to stretch the story out. And that's what we're doing with Tam and Saya Kamatani. And it works because they have great matches. And most importantly, they're drawing money. They're drawing money, brother, because that's what it's all about. Again, 4.25 stars, great match with some great stories coming out of it.
I think we're all of the same opinion that Saya is going to have a large run, a long run with this belt at the top of the card. I would be very, very, very surprised if we aren't at Dream Kingdom 2025 and she's not still red belt champion. In an ideal world, obviously, I don't know when Tam ever plans on retiring, but wouldn't it be a great way to retire Tam for Saya to do it? For Saya to retire Tam as Tam goes for that red belt once more. I would love that. I don't think it should happen yet because there's plenty of mileage left in Tam and in Cosmic Angels and in Meltier and all that. But wouldn't that be just a wonderful nail in Tam's coffin? Final nail in Tam's coffin.
You know what else would be something? Do it a hair versus hair match.
Properly send her off and really cement Saya Kamatani as your top heel.
Because Tam won the first one with Julia, and what's Julia doing? Only killing it on worldwide TV, drawing huge ratings. By the way, shout out to a friend of the show, Darren Chat, and he did text me about an hour ago. I didn't get message me on Twitter. I didn't get a chance to read it, but it was something that Julia popped the highest ratings in NXT this week. So again, you can harken back to that. So again, it's they've only done. I think they've only done that. That's the only hair versus hair match they've ever done in Stardom history, right? Tam and Julia.
Yes, I think so.
If we're wrong, folks, just let us know.
Yeah, I don't think I am. I think it might be the first and the only one.
So again, what a great way to Tam and Julia is right where they were. That's where Tam and Saya are now. Like the visceral hate, drawing money championship. You can literally, again, I know I'm saying this to a school teacher, copy an A, get an A.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tam does not need to win. Tam does not need to win this feud. This is all about Saya. and really, really cementing her at the top of this card. Right, simply because we've been podcasting for roughly 18 and a half hours this weekend. So let's get into this final, which, of course, happened and aired live today from Shinkiba First Ring, the New Year Unit League 2025 Championship deciding match. Thursday, the 23rd of January 2025, live and direct, Shinkiba First Ring. 284 people in attendance, an attendance that Stardom have billed as a sellout, having run the venue previously a total of 212 times. This show is the first time that Stardom have run Shinkiba First Ring since March 2021, an incredible 470 shows ago. Now, the attendance that night was 145 people, with today's attendance being a 95.9% increase. Of course, again, take it with a pinch of salt. Of course, you've got to take into account the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic and its subsequent restrictions did play an enormous factor in that attendance, just like it does when saying that this is the largest house Stardom have drawn to the venue since the 16th of February 2020, which ironically was Stardom's final show before the pandemic caused the company into a temporary shutdown. So again, really good numbers. It's a sellout, a massive improvement on those numbers. But again, you look at the pre-COVID numbers in Shinkiba and they're drawing regularly 300, 400 people. So again, the way they've set up the venue is slightly different. Obviously, to start this show, we had Yuria and Akira open up with another 5-minute sparring session. After that, Taro Okada came to the ring and the trio revealed the rookies' new names. Yuria will be known going forward as Yuria Hime, and Akira will be known as Akira Kurugane. Okay, so those are the names going forward. Again, we will see them in action for the first time in their competitive debuts on Saturday and on Sunday, and we'll go through those cards when we are done with this. Quick results then. Because it is quick. There's no hate on this card. And thank you to, oh my God, who was it on Discord? Baseball. Oh, I can't remember the full name, but Baseball on Discord, who reminded me that Natsukatora had said that they were going to boycott hate. We're just going to boycott the final. And did. I think that's great. That did mean that Tam Natsupoi and Soriano also had this show off because there was literally no one else for them to fight. So the rest of the show was as follows. 10-woman tag, Stars team of Hazuki Koguma, Sayurida, and Momo Kohgo, and Motoi Hamabe defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora, and the God's Eye team of Lady C and Rani Yagami. Sayurida pinning Aya Sakura with a thumping lariat in 10 minutes and 49 seconds, damn near decapitating the high kick angel. Tag team action followed this. Anacon, Syuri, and Saki Kashima defeated Eye Contact, Mayu Iwatani, and Hanan. Syuri pinning Hanan with the ruin in 18 minutes and 6 seconds. Obviously, today marks the 14th anniversary of Mayu Iwatani's debut in Shinkiba First Ring. So this place, Shinkiba First Ring, does hold a bit of a nostalgic place in the heart of Mayu Iwatani. However, she hasn't won any of her last 6 matches at the venue. So not the greatest record, 7 now, including the loss here in the tag team match. New Year Unit League 2025 final match. Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid, Azumi, Suzu Suzuki, Meisera, and Miya Wamasaki. They defeated the EXV team of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian 3-2 in 30 minutes. Now, the final did differ from the rest of the block matches. So each one of the block match was obviously contested 2 out of 3 falls match. This was as many falls as you could get in 30 minutes. And also it was a straight 10-woman tag. There was no different teams for different falls. It was whoever could be in the ring. So very similar to your ordinary 10-woman tags. Let's get into it, Matt. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of the, well, I'll say all of the undercard matches, the 2 undercard matches, but I know that you were a huge, huge fan of this tag, this 10-woman tag.
Yeah, first of all, Rana Yugami and Sayaka Kurora, they figure out who's going to start by doing rock, paper, scissors.
Love that. Thought that was brilliant.
Which is a Matt Turner, Andy Header staple. We just endear the crowd into it. We do it in the middle of the ring, and we do have one side say rock, others say paper, others say scissor, others say go. So again, folks, that's how you get the most out of it. But I thought that was great. I do want to make mention. I talked about the how well Aya and Saida work together. There was great stuff with Aya Yuna and Saida in this match. We've seen Aya win matches with a head kick and then going into the triangle choke. She had it locked on Saida, and Saida looked like she was going to pick her up in the rampage for the rampage bomb. So that's why I thought I was going to break it up. And then Yuna out of nowhere comes over and lariats Saida in the back of the head. Aya hangs on to the triangle choke. I'm like, oh, that's such a great finish. I was like, are they going to do Aya and Yuna versus Wingori for the? There's so much that they have set up for Wingori for the Goddess belts, and I'm so excited for this run. And I thought that was going to be the finish. I'm like, what a great finish that is going to be. Ultimately, though, Saeed is able to get out and just hit that thunderous lariat. I think I texted you as soon as this match. I watched this show up until the main event live, and then I had to go to work. But I thought this was a great opener. I thought everybody looked really good. Again, I know we want to spend majority of the time talking about the 6 falls in the main event, which I thought was brilliant. But I just want to point out how well Aya, Yuna, and Saida work. You throw Hanan in there. I really want to see that tag championship match. And oh, by the way, Hazuki was in this match, and she was great because she's Hazuki. Again, this show was great. 4.25 stars. Great way to start off the show.
Now, obviously, we've said that Tam, Cioriano, and Natsupoi weren't on this show. We also said that Hate weren't on this show. Turns out that Mayu Iwatani was very nearly not on this show because in typical Mayu Iwatani fashion, she got on the wrong train. So very nearly ended up not at the venue. She had tweeted out prior to getting on the wrong train that she'd also forgotten something, but didn't have time to go back for it because, again, hashtag that's our icon. But it would have been perhaps the most Mayu Iwatani thing ever to miss her own anniversary show because she got on the wrong train and went in the wrong direction. She was sporting new gear today, which looked fantastic. And of course, we had the 5 balls being thrown into the crowd, which was a nice touch, even if one of them ended up somehow back in the ring and Momo Kohgo had to throw it. But it was a really nice moment. Obviously, the match, I'll get your feedback on in a moment. And then even though Saki Kashima turned on Mayu in this very building, we then had a little bit of not a confrontation, a little bit of wasn't even a reconciliation, really. It was just a funny little exchange between the pair, but you could see that Mayu was very touched by it. You could see that she was in tears. Saki Kashima was doing her best to fight back tears as well. She said that, it was in this very venue that I turned my back on you, and I don't regret a moment of it, which I thought was a brilliant line. Honestly, Saki Kashima is so funny. And then she went, but I did say that I would surpass you, and no one's ever going to surpass you. You are the icon for a reason, which was a really, really nice touch. What did she say? Instead of trying to surpass you, I'm just going to continue to latch onto Shuri's leg. She's honestly, she is. She's so good, Saki Kashima. But it was a really, really nice, nostalgic moment for Mayu to celebrate 14 years of an insane career. And I think what better way to celebrate that anniversary than with the person who many, many, many people are sort of tipping to be the person to be the next icon of Stardom in Hannah.
Yeah, solid. You're absolutely right. Her new gear, she looks fantastic. And for some reason, I follow the person that makes a lot
So do I. I don't know why this happened, but I follow them as well. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's great. And obviously, I love Twitter's great because you have the you can hit the translation, and it looked like there was cat prints and paw prints. And I know she has the one dog Poochie because we seen. I guess she might have a cat too, and she has that on her gear. And that's really cute. I'm gonna show that to my wife once we get done here because I think that's adorable. She looked great in her new gear. Considering the fact that she threw something in the crowd and she had her new gear, I'm trying to wonder what was the one thing she forgot. My guess, mask and/or robe, because it is her 14th anniversary. So, because
she had the belt, didn't she? She
She had,
came out with the belt.
yeah, I think she did, but I don't think
Okay.
she had a mask or a robe. But usually she's very much like in that Starlight Kidkin that she always has to have almost a new mask for every big show. So that would be my guess. So don't be shocked if she shows up with it at one of these shows this weekend. But when this match was announced, especially the fact it's the 14th anniversary of Mayu and Saki, and obviously this great company Stardom, figured Mayu's going to get the win here. I was shocked that not only did not Mayu not get the win here, the fact that it ended with a mini match with Hanan and Shuri, which don't get me wrong, great. They had two great matches in last year's 5-star Grand
They
Prix.
really
They were terrific here, even better. Again, anytime they give Shuri something to sink her teeth into, she doesn't miss. Her and Mayu, it's such a great combination. Saki Cashin was great here, not only in the promo but in the match as well. I had it 4.25 stars. Again, really only 3 matches on this entire show. Obviously, we had our exhibition, but like 4.25 star match, 4.25 star match, and then we go into this this unit league, which again, partner, once we get ready to talk about it, which we are in a minute, you want to talk about the doing up the degree of difficulty is insane.
Well, let's get straight into it then. The tournament final that saw EXV versus Neo Genesis. I'll run through the falls, of which there were 5. So 6 matches technically. So 4-1, we had Hanako on the EXV side defeat Miyo Amasaki with the JP coaster in 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Again, pinning the future of Stardom champion. Could we see Hanako challenge after these awards? Fall 2, Mei Seira defeating Rian with the drop kick to level things up in 8 minutes and 17 seconds. Mina Shirakawa then rolled up Azumi with the glamorous collection Mina to make it EXV 2, Neo Genesis 1. Azumi evened things up almost immediately with the Azumi Sushi then to make it 2-all. On the 24-minute mark then, Fall 5, Suzu Suzuki pinned Maika. Now, we talked about Soriano not taking many pinfalls. We talked about Starlight Kid not taking many pinfalls. In terms of Maika, I genuinely think the last time she had a pinfall was when she lost the Red Bell match to Tam at
No, Tora.
When did Tora pin her?
Are you serious? Dream Queendom. The hardcore match? Blood?
Oh, of course, yeah. Sorry.
It's late. It's late. See, this is what we do. We help each other. I forgot the name of Devil Princess. So there we go.
With the locomotion German suplex to make it 3-2. And then the way they paced that final fall was tremendous. Maika hitting the Michinoku driver, but running out of time to even it up. Neo Genesis are your inaugural New Year Unit League winners. They get the championship choices, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Matt Turner, this was absolutely bloody tremendous.
Again, I talked about when we started this beginning of this episode, the degree of difficulty doing 3 falls, mixing up the teams. Now we're doing, because we're going 30 minutes. And again, shout out to Scotty Wrestling, because I didn't know until after we recorded. He told me that it's an iron. He basically told me it's an iron person match. That I didn't know. And the fact there's no tags. There's no, okay, it's going to be Micah, Hanako this fall. It's basically whoever's in is in. So you're doing 6 falls, 10 people, 2 teams, and then you're mixing up the teamwork. The degree of difficulty in that is absolutely insane. Like, that is absolutely insane. And again, if anybody's going to pull it off, it's Stardom. If anybody's going to pull it off, it's, Neo Genesis is great. EXV, as far as a unit goes, even in a loss, you're just like, wow. And I mean, let's get into it. Fall number 1 was really all about really just building up Hanako. She looked terrific here. Obviously, she gets the JP coaster on Mayu. Terrific stuff here. And again, Rian looked really good in each fall. She's the youngest person on either team. And again, we talked about Lady C look good. Azusa look good. All of a sudden, Rian, long hair, throwing gang signs, hanging with Mei Seira in high-speed matches.
That exchange with Mei Seira was absolutely phenomenal. Properly good.
Yeah, and again, Mace, and I like how that fall. I mean, it sets up. Mace there hits those 84 drop kicks in the corner on Rian here. It's just like, okay, there's clearly something there, and they built it up even more going into this one. But fall number 1 for me is all about building up. Hanako hits the JP coaster again. A second shout out to the Jumbo Princess and Himika for the 3 count. Really good way to start this match, Mr. Goodwin.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Again, it was sort of setting that tempo for the rest of the match. And we started with that brawl as well, didn't we? Just to make sure that everyone was aware we can all go in at whatever time. But yeah, for me, Rian in this second fall, to keep up with Mei Sarah at the best of times is bloody difficult. But to be able to do it in a pinning sort of exchange and to do it so seamlessly. I mean, we've talked a lot about Rian's development and how she's really, really been making significant strides over the last couple of weeks and months. Here, I thought it really all came together because this exchange with May was awesome.
I like how this fall starts. Hanako gets the win. Mei Sarah comes in. She tries that one leap, second rope, missile drop kick, which I still have no idea how she does. And Hanako just catches her. It's just like, oh
Yep.
no, oh no. And then sets up, she slams her, sets Rian up. And then obviously Mei gets the better of. Really great stuff there. Then there's this phenomenal Starlight Kid Suzu Suzuki spot where they hit the 619 and German suplex combination to Rian. And eventually Mei Sarah. I love how she does like the Oklahoma roll into the Irish whip and then properly drop kicks you in the face, sending you into next week, getting the fall right back, tying this up 1-1. Again, the second fall wasn't long, but it was just like there was so much stuff happening, like blinking. It was like bomb, 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 giant drop kick. Oh, by the way, even though Rihanna in a loss, we now have set her up for a future high-speed championship match because she can now hang with Mei Sarah. So I'm all for that. And again, Rob, considering the fact that the high-speed championship is the best 2 out of 3 falls with a 10-minute time limit, we saw that Rian can do that speed and be able to tell a good story with Mei Sarah in 7-8 minutes. So again, more stuff coming out of this match that I'm really excited for. So yeah, excellent fall number 2, brother.
Yeah, completely agree with you again. I think Rian looked tremendous. The speed. What I liked about this matchup in general was it had everything that I loved about the Neo Genesis and Cosmic Angels match that opened the tournament, with the additional power of Micah and Hanako, which, you know, all the credit in the world to Yuna Mizumori. Hanako and Micah are that touch more powerful, and the power is more evident in them. And I think that adds a completely different dynamic to the matchup. Fall 3 and Fall 4, I feel like you can almost put together because it's just a phenomenal exchange between Mina Shirakawa and Azumi. And again, this is the wonderful thing about Stardom. You see these matchups that you don't see all that often. Mina Shirakawa and Azumi. I would love to see that in a singles match. And they proved they can match each other's style. It's not just about wrestling Azumi's speed game. Both wrestlers did that tremendously, but both wrestlers also wrestled Mina's game, targeting limbs, some focused target work. Really well done again.
As much I like fall 1 and fall 2, I'm kind of like, okay, we're ramping things up here, but where's my big stars in this match? Like, the big stars aren't doing anything. And then Crazy Star comes in and they try to pick the bones of Rian. And then Mike is like, no, I'm the lead of this faction. I'm not having it. She comes in, lariats the world, tag to Azumi, tag to Mina. And then here we go. And again, Mina and Azumi have been in this company quite some time. They never really had like a big singles program, but it's just like, let's see what that's going to look like. It's going to look like printing money because, again, they work each other's. Again, they have different styles, but the fact styles make fights. They mesh so well. Really great back and forth between the two, with eventually Mina catching Azumi in the Glamorous Collection. Mina, EXV gets a 2-1. You're absolutely right, partner. And then we go right into fall number 4, which is the Azumi getting the better of Mina Shirakawa. She hits that brutal double stomp onto Mina. Mina starts to work the leg. We get the figure 4 in. I really like that. Mina, and then Mina hits a cross leg suplex. We haven't seen her do that. Cross leg suplex for a 2 count, which I thought was good. Yuzumi Sushi scores her a 2 count. She hits a beautiful Canadian Destroyer and the Azumi Sushi on Mina. But yeah, you're absolutely right. After that quick double team from Crazy Star and then Micah cleaning the house, fall 3 and fall 4 is just 2 mini matches with Azumi and Mina Shirakawa. And they were great, literally to the point where it was gift all over social media within an hour of this show being over with. So clearly Stardom has something with Azumi and Mina Shirakawa. And that's a match, Rob, that doesn't need a championship. They can just be like, who's the better of the two? And they can do it like a best of 5 series. But yeah, again, fall 3 and fall 4, you're absolutely right, partner. Basically 2 mini matches with Azumi and 1 Mina Shirakawa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a match that doesn't need a title, like Micah versus Natsukatora from Dream Queendom, which I absolutely 100% did not forget about. But yeah, I completely agree. What I did like in the transition between Fall 3 and Fall 4 is that the speed at which they were wrestling Fall 3 took its toll on Mina in the 1 minute break between Fall 3 and Fall 4. And you could see her on her knees, sort of yelling and trying to get herself back. And then the moment the bell rang, Neo Genesis swarmed her. And I thought that was a really cool. That's what I'm talking about in terms of tactics. Right. Okay. Yeah. Mina's got the pinfall over Azumi, but if we swarm her and take advantage of this, we can quickly even things up. And I loved that. And that's what I've really liked about the tournament. That's what I was talking about earlier in the episode about those tactics being brought into play. And then Fall 5, again, yes, I may have forgotten that Michael lost to Natsukatora at Dream Queendom, but it's still a shock to see Micah take a pinfall. And again, this fantastic tournament for Suzu Suzuki continues on this fantastic train because it was an absolutely brutish exchange before we got to the decisive German suplex.
I don't think you forgot that Michael Satori. You just want to see if I was on my game and I was paying
That's
attention.
what it was. Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you just want to make sure that I'm A-okay because that's what good teammates do. Again, I made mention. I'm like, where's the stars in this match? And then we had this great exchange with Mina and Azumi. I'm like, that was great. Other than Micah hitting that lariat, where's Micah been? She's probably the biggest star in these two teams. Where's the Crimson Empress? And then her and Suzu get in there and they just start throwing bombs. And
beat the hell out of each other.
And we immediately go back to 2023, finals of the 5-Star Grand Prix, your final match of the year for the vacant World of Stardom Championship at Dream Queendom. 2 phenomenal matches in Stardom's history from Suzu. And just like that, Rob, it picked up right where they left off over a year ago, and they just start throwing bombs back and forth. We get a top rope fight between the two. Again, you do not want to be on the top rope with Micah because she's going for the superplex. I like how Suzu's stalling and she's getting the better of Micah, and then Hanako has to power bomb her own teammate off the top rope to make the superplex happen. I really like that, how the young Hanako has to come in and almost save the leader to do damage onto Suzu Suzuki. I thought that was really great stuff. We get Suzu Suzuki escapes the Michinoku driver. She hits a German suplex and a tequila shot for a 2 count. And then May Sarah and Starlight Kid, they hit stereo dives to take out. And I like how May and Starlight Kid, they see that Suzu kind of has things in well place here. So they need to do their job and take out all the members of EXV, and they do it with the big dives. That basically crumbles everything. Azumi does a great job holding everybody else out. And then Suzu Suzuki eventually hits the German suplex onto Mike, a clean win in the middle of the ring. Again, you're building Suzu Suzuki up to this championship match. You have her beating Saya Kamatani. You had her beating Micah. This is a great way to build up Suzu Suzuki to this championship match. Again, great violent exchanges with Suzu and Micah, with the other members of Neo Genesis clearing everybody else out. So these two can have the center of the ring for violence, pure violence, right up my alley. And just like that, Rob, I'm like, yeah, you want to run back Suzu Suzuki versus Micah, I'm all for it. Again, that's a match that doesn't need a championship belt as well. I mean, just really terrific stuff. And then that's 3-2. We go into fall number 6. And this might be the best fall of them all, even though they don't have.
Yep.
I mean, this was, but anything you want to say about fall number 5, brother?
No, just the only thing that, forearm exchanges are utilized in almost every single wrestling match around the world. And, sometimes you get a little bit desensitized to it. It's coming. This forearm exchange where Suzu is literally just in the face of Micah, having driven her to a knee, basically shouting at her to come on. And Micah just lets out this little chuckle. And it's the scariest chuckle I've ever heard in my life, because that Suzu's unlocked something in Micah, and Micah just goes to town on Suzu, and it proper brings about a change in pace, a change in intensity in this fall. And that, of course, leads us into what was an absolutely breathtaking final fall and up to the 30-minute time limit.
So the genius of this fall, Rob, we're always talking about having these main eventers pull up the mid-carders or the lower mid-cards, not necessarily for a win, but making them look good. Suzu Suzuki pinned Saya Kamatani. She's the number 1 contender. She just pinned Micah. Who comes now? Suzu's on a roll, lip ring, looking badass. A little shout out to last week's episode. Who comes in and stops the train of Suzu Suzuki? Moonlight Fantasy, Waka and Rian. They come and slow Suzu down. I was like, that's really cool because it's a 2-on-1 advantage, but at the same time, it's two kind of mid-card younger wrestlers taking out the main eventer of Suzu Suzuki. I like that. And then Azumi and Mace they come in with the save with the Joshi style drop kicks. Starlight Kid hits that twisting 180 splash to Micah. Mina Shirakawa comes in with a rolling elbow and hits a draping DDT for a 2 count. Back fist, implant DDT. Mina Shirakawa is just on a roll here, especially in this final fall. Eventually, though, this turns into a Starlight Kid versus Micah singles match. Again, a match we've never really seen. Micah's on a completely different level. Starlight Kid is the best she's ever been, and these two hit it out of the park. She goes for the Michinoku driver. Starlight Kid slips out. She hits the Momo latch, which we've seen her win matches before. Almost gets a 3 count. Every time Micah goes for the Michinoku driver, Starlight Kid and Neo Genesis have an answer. She hits 1 and 2 in a row. Eventually, Neo Genesis breaks it up. And then she, again, the counter for the Momo latch, which I thought was terrific. Micah eventually, though, hits a huge lariat, hits the Michinoku driver for a 2 count. Again, Neo Genesis breaks up, and then she hits the hammerlock Michinoku driver as the time expires. Again, great stuff. Building Moonlight Fantasy up in the beginning of this match, and then just having a great segue with Mina Shirakawa and Starlight Kid. And then again, another mini match that we've really never seen before, especially at this level in their careers with Micah and Starlight Kid. I thought that was a great way to end the tournament. Again, I know this didn't have an actual winner this fall, but technically you had 6 falls, 30 minutes, 10 wrestlers. Everybody got over. This was my favorite match of the tournament. And my favorite match, just so I know Stardom's only, 23 days old this month or this year. It's my favorite match of Stardom this year. This was fantastic. 4 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5. I thought this was an absolutely tremendous utilization of the rule set, the timing, the pacing. Everything that they did was really, really good, and everybody got their chance to shine. I think Suzu Suzuki has come out of this tournament looking incredibly motivated towards her match with Saya Kamatani. I think Hanako was made to look very, very strong over EXV's 3 matches. Again, Micah is Micah, Mina is Mina, but again, Neo Genesis are your winners, and perhaps on the face of things, deservingly so. I think. Obviously, as winners of the inaugural New Year Unit League, they are given the opportunity to challenge for any 2 titles. Obviously, Starlight Kid is already the wonder of Stardom champion. Suzu Suzuki's already got a red belt shot lined up, and Mace-Era's already the high speed champion. So what do? They challenge for the belts they don't have. So what will happen is Crazy Star are going to challenge Wingori for the Goddesses of Stardom championships. Yes, please. And though that wasn't good enough, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Miyu Amasaki are going to challenge the Work Rate Angels, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Sioriano for the artist belt. Both Wingori and Tam came out afterwards to say, yeah, we're absolutely fine with that. If you want these belts, you come get them. Matt Turner, absolutely brilliant end to the final, and it gives us 2 excellent title matches lined up as well.
Yeah, again, when we were kind of predicting who's going to win this tournament, like Neo Genesis is the hot new thing. This would be great for them. Like, they don't need the belts. But again, and I made mention if you win this tournament, which me and you both think it would have been God's eye. It's like, who do you decide gets the 2 title shots? And I like how all 5 members, they won this tournament as a unit. They're all getting title shots. So I really like that. And again, I know some of us were scratching our heads that we didn't get Crazy Star in the Goddess tournament, but obviously we got some great makeshift teams in their absence of the tournament. The fact that now we're getting Crazy Star, a proper championship match somewhere down the line against a red hot Wingori. That's going to be terrific. And again, Tam, Soriano, Natsupoi taking on Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, and Starlight Kid. I mean, then, and obviously we're building up to a Starlight Kid versus probably Tomoka Inaba match, Starlight Kid versus Rina. Obviously, we have Sai Kamatani versus Suzu Suzuki. We have a lot of great stuff for championship matches built up for this first quarter of this year. Great job with this tournament. I thought it was genius. The booking was fantastic. Every single wrestler worked their collective asses off to make sure that this tournament got over. To say that this was a smash success, not only in ring work wise, but what they have coming out of this tournament and ticket sale wise, I think would be an understatement. This was an absolute home run, and I'm hoping that this is a yearly thing because this was great.
Yeah. And again, it's not like it takes long. This entire tournament was done in 4 days. And yet it was so well booked. It was so well paced, nothing dragged. And again, what I like is we started our reviews of this tournament by saying it's brought a focus to the unity within factions and really gone back to focusing on the strength of a faction. And then you bring up Neo Genesis, who've just won the tournament, and rather than saying, right, I'm going for the red belt, right, I'm going for the white belt, which actually, when you think about it, could divide a faction in trying to ascertain who is going to get these title shots. Instead, they're like, no, all 5 of us have won this tournament. All 5 of us are getting a title shot. So we're going to do Goddess and Artist. That way, everyone gets a title shot. And I really, really like the fact that that unity is how we finish the unit league. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think this is the first time that they've done a unit sort of tournament or trios tournament, if you will, and it's hit. It's connected and it's stuck. It's a different rule set to everything else. It's completely unique, and we've seen how it's done now. And I think you've got the propensity now to build on stories, to build on tactics in between falls and things like that, which we saw here. And again, the focus on people that don't ordinarily get that focus. Rian, Hanako, Momo Kohgo, Lady C have all had their moments in the sun, and rightly so. Moving on then, just before we get on to Io and Kairi watch. Oreo watch, because Kairi's injured. We will go through the announced cards, or at least so far announced cards, for the next 2 shows. The Stardom Award 2024 in Takadano Baba, day 1 and day 2, 25th and 26th. We have got on night 1 on the 25th, Akira will be debuting. She is the blonde rookie, for those who aren't sure. She will be debuting against Suzu Suzuki. We've also got just an all-star 12-woman tag. So we have got Hate, Natsuko Tora, Sai Kamatani, Momo Watanabe, the return of Tekla, who has missed the inaugural unit league, Rina and Ruaka. They are taking on Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, Saki Kashima, Syuri, Maika, and Mina Shirakawa. They are known as the Alliance to Destroy Hate. They're not. But
Put that on a t-shirt.
Absolutely. Put them in a doomsday cage. And cowards.
With the electric chair like Abdul the Butcher.
Oh my God. Brilliant. With the Tarzan ropes. And then in what will presumably be your main event, you've got the Future of Stardom Championship. The champion Miyu Amasaki making her second title defense against Hate's Azusa Inaba. So that is the show from the 25th, which is Saturday. Again, the main focus is also going to be on the awards that we are giving out as well. More matches are going to be announced for that day, but not as of yet. So presumably the moment that we press publish on this episode. We've then got day 2, January the 26th, which is this Sunday again, same venue. And we have got the following, which, let's be honest, this is going to be a really, really good card. So we have got Sioriano and Rina in a singles match. We've then got Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori against the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, Sayarida, and Momo Kohgo. That's going to be great. FWC versus Shiori and Rani Yagami. That's also going to be great. Aya Sakura versus Kyoko Kotatsu in a UWFI rules match. That's also going to be great. Look how happy Matt is. Look how happy he is.
It doesn't take much to make me happy. Really. Just give me some Stardom.
Yeah. And then we have got Yuria making her pro wrestling debut, and she will be taking on Micah. So some really, really, really exciting matches there. I'm really excited for this Sayoriano and Rina matchup. I'm excited for FWC versus Syuri and Rani Yagami. I'm really excited to see what the UWFI rules match is going to be like. I'm excited to see Aya Sakura in that sort of style of match, to see really how she accents Kyoko Kotatsu's MMA stylings. And of course, I'm really intrigued to see how the two rookies do as well.
I think both those shows are live too. I think they're both live on Stardom World. I don't think
Yes,
they're VODs.
I believe they are.
Okay.
I think they are. So we'll be back next week, not only with these two shows, but also with the results of perhaps the greatest Stardom Awards of all time, the Stardom Cast Awards, the 5th annual Stardom Cast Awards, as voted on by your lovely selves. Can't wait to do that. It's going to be really, really exciting. So the Stardom Cast Award show will be live next week. Finally, Matt, before we sign off and let these good people go about their days, I think it's time. It's Io and Kairi time.
Absolutely. Io and Kairi watch, you mentioned, obviously Kairi's still injured, but this was a watch of Zoe Stark's boot into one Dakota Kai's face.
Oh my God, I saw that on Twitter. Good grief.
And again, shout out to my main man, Darren Chatton, give me time cue. So this match is Io and Dakota Kai taking on Zoe Stark and one Shayna Baszler. The heat starts with Zoe Stark hitting a springboard missile dropkick 3/4 across the ring, destroying poor Dakota Kai. Now kind of just pulling the curtain back. Referee Dakota Kai and Io did a great job making sure Dakota Kai was okay. Io comes in, hot tag. She does this. She does the not the springboard. She does the handstand into the show ties. Shayna Baszler, she powders out to the ring. Io hits the picture perfect suicide dive to the floor. Everybody's chanting Io's name. She is such a huge superstar. I'm not just saying that because she's my favorite. Io then comes back in the ring, hits the springboard Joshi style dropkick onto one Zoe Stark, and then follows up with the bullet train. She turns around because Shayna Baszler is the legal wrestler. Shayna hits her with a brutal knee. She locks her in the Karafuda clutch, also known as the rear naked choke, and Io comes up with a very, very great way of getting out of this. So think about it, folks. You're in the rear naked choke. Io then runs. She jumps in between the second and the third rope, and then she basically hot shots Shayna Baszler throat first onto the top rope to not only get out of the rear naked choke, but then Shayna takes a bump about 3/4 away from the middle, from the turnbuckle. Perfect position for the over the moonsault. Not a long match, but a lot of really cool spots, especially with the Zoe Stark dropkick. Io coming in for the hot tag. Io's counter of the Karafuda clutch, because we know between WWE, NXT, and Stardom, she's been in that move quite a bit from Shayna Baszler. So it's nice to see she's finally found a way out, and then hits the picture perfect moonsault as we are just 2 weeks away from hopefully one Io Shirai winning the Royal Rumble, because she is my pick. So a really solid match, even though it was really short, but a lot of really cool moments in this match.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that just about brings us to the end of this episode. I think we've done quite well there, Matt, to review an entire tournament in just under 3 hours. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether it's via podcast or via YouTube. We appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so, so much. If you haven't already subscribed, we'd love you to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you think we've deserved it, a review or a comment really helps us out, whether that's on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you haven't already checked out the Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast for all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month. You can also check out the website, www.talkjoshi.com, for all of the news, reviews, previews, and archived episodes of our podcast, as well as all the history, stats, and all that good stuff to do with Stardom and Marigold. You can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at Talk Joshi. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel as well. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at Real Rob Goodwin. And then Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and the Blue Sky. Also, check out the Stardom Cast on Instagram and the TikTok as well, as I'm trying to learn my way around the TikTok. But hey, we're getting there. We're getting
TikTok.
there. Yes. Hey, we're literally everywhere, folks. We're trying to be easy accessible. Anywho, folks, we greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when all together, everybody's special. Excuse me, everybody's different. Everybody's special.